Hello and welcome to everybody at home to the Rainbow Six Masters Playdate number 7. Waving enthusiastically is Dev Marta. My name is Xenox, making my debut tonight, but welcome to the show, Dev.
Oh yeah, welcome Xenox finally to a Rainbow Six cast. I know it's been, how long? It's been weeks, months that we've been talking behind the scenes. You've been doing your homework, so no, I mean, the pressure's not on, dude. We're just here to have fun, so it should be a fantastic time.
No, the pressure should be on, right? You know, this is the high level of Rainbow. I mean, I'm excited. I'm really excited to get into tonight's games, especially as well, because we are nearing that halfway mark of the season. Now, you guys can, of course, follow along at home with the socials down below. Definitely want to hear how you think tonight's going to go as well with the later on poll vote. But Dev, this season, it's been extremely close so far.
Oh yeah, we've just seen so many tight games. I know the matches I've cast in particular, so many overtimes. And what's really exciting is, you know, Pro League, we didn't have overtime. We just had draws at 6-6. No, we've had the overtime here. And I mean, the teams have certainly been giving it their best shot. Even teams coming in at the bottom seed through the open qualifier like LFO, they've drawn games against some of the top teams. So it's been super exciting.
Have a look at the standings on our screens here already, and Wildcard currently sitting on the top by themselves, 15 points. They have at least got a little bit of a buffer, but besides them, as we was talking about, it is extremely close towards that 2-7 mark. So the race for top 4 certainly heating up.
Definitely top 4 into playoffs, and you mentioned 4th, 5th, and 6th. That's Knights, Sinister, and LFO, all currently sitting on 9 points. So they're really just, you know, a stone's throw away from jumping over each other and hitting that playoff spot. And even teams like Ferox are only 1 win, which will give them 3 points, 1 map win, away from jumping up and being a contender with those guys as well. As for the top half, you know, Wildcard, Elevate, we expect to see them at the top, but they haven't gone there without some trouble. They've both, as you can see, lost some games to some of these other teams. And I mean, I'm really keen to see how this shapes up by the end of the season.
I think the round differential also just sort of speaks volumes to how close these matches have been. You said it yourself. The matches themselves have been close, along with, of course, the teams then all sort of taking wins and losses against each other quite fairly. Team Ferox, you know, is playing tonight. They're on that 6 points where they're just on the outside, right? Sitting in 7th place. But who knows, maybe after tonight they could catch up to the rest.
Yeah, definitely. We saw last Pro League season that even teams who sit in the bottom half of the standings for quite a long time can make a run in the second half. Sinister being a great example. They didn't lose a single game in the second half of the Pro League. We look at teams like Kanga, maybe they haven't seen an impact yet, but there's plenty of time for them to still get their heads in the game.
Yeah, let's go and have a look at the schedule that we have for tonight's games, of course, which we have Elevate versus Team Ferox up first. As I mentioned, I touched on it just a little bit. Big game for Team Ferox. Then followed after that will be LFO and Pittsburgh Knights.
Yeah, I mean, looking at that first game, it's first seed off into the league versus Team Ferox currently sitting in 7th place. And then later on, a bit of a rivalry here. LFO coming to the open qualifiers. They've had a lot to prove, and man, they've impressed us. And Knights, a team that's been on such strong form. They had that roster change, and I know that's going to be a huge bloodbath down there as our second game.
Yeah, very much excited to see how that one's going to play out. But of course, Elevate versus Team Ferox, that's the game that we're going to be having up first on tonight. And I'm extremely excited to see how this one plays because of the fact that it's almost a must-win for Ferox. They've got a couple of different easier games potentially in the back half of this over the next few weeks. But you win this, and their chances of making top 4 increase dramatically.
And Ferox might be 7th place at the moment, but they versed 3 of the best teams in the league, Okami, Wildcard, and Knights as well. So as you mentioned, coming up against Elevate here, a lot to prove. These guys also had the most roster changes of any 6 Masters team coming into this season. Deptra and Sushi were pretty new, and Todd actually joined after the 6 Masters Open qualifier, which he played in for a different team. Golden sitting there is also their sub. So this team really does have a lot to prove and a lot of potential as well.
Yeah, a lot of potential. And I mean, as you said, a lot to prove. It hasn't quite worked out well for them in recent weeks. At the very least, they were able to split 1-1 with Okami. Heading over, of course, to the other side, though, Elevate, they have been on the other spectrum, I guess you could say, where they have been performing very well over the last few weeks. They did have that surprise border match against Sinister last week, but as a whole, they are looking like a very surefire team to make top 4 if they continue to play as consistently as they have over the course of this season so far.
Now, this year has been a good time for Elevate. They came out strong in the Pro League. They got second by the end of it, and them first seed in this league. And yeah, as you mentioned, a couple of strong games. That said, they did drop a map to LFO and a map just last week, close 6-8 rather, to Sinister. So Elevate, I think that they've established themselves as one of the biggest contenders for the region, but you really have to prove it here and squish teams like Ferox to be a serious contender for that top #1 spot.
Yeah, I certainly agree. I mean, Ferox is a team that is going to want to sort of maybe just punch up their weight slightly in this exchange. Whereas I think if you're Elevate, yeah, as you said, you're looking to sort of just put them away to 0, ideally, from their perspective. And I've got to say, I mean, I would say that they're very much capable of that. I did see the predictions that you guys put out on Twitter today, Dev. There was 2 draws. I think actually Guz and Raven went for the draws in that prediction.
Yeah, that's right. With the snowball predictions, quite a few of us went for the draw. I stuck with the 2-0 for Elevate, but I've got to say it can slide either way. And like I mentioned, we've seen Elevate drop maps in the last few weeks to LFO and Sinister, and Ferox has proved to be a really strong opponent with close games against Wildcard as well. So anything is possible here.
Right, we're going to go and have a look at the map vetoes here for this matchup between Elevate and Ferox. And one thing that I'm very excited to see is whether or not we get this cafe pick, because we were discussing it before air, how it's such a strong map for Elevate that I feel like for Ferox, just, you know, as a guess here, you've got to maybe ban this map out.
Yeah, definitely. And you only get the 1 ban. Each team gets 1 ban, and then you get 1 pick in this best of 2 series. So it's hugely dangerous. Elevate are just so proficient on that cafe, and then they've got the 5-1 record in 2020 to prove it so far. So let's roll up with the bans. See what we've got. It's Cafe banned out by Ferox, so good analysis there, Xenox, and Clubhouse taken out of the game for Elevate. It has been their most banned map in the 6 Masters so far. They've banned it 2 weeks so far, and the last time they won Clubhouse was in January. On the flip side, maybe not the best map for Ferox, but I think that just shows Elevate is looking to stay on turf that they're comfortable with rather than counter-banning Ferox. And a bit of the opposite for Ferox. They're just getting rid of something that they think will be a really good map for Elevate.
I mean, I do love that I got the prediction correct in that case, but I'm also a bit disappointed because these 2 maps, Cafe and Clubhouse, that have been banned out are probably my 2 most proficient maps that I've been learning over my last few months, as you said. But hey, I'm very much excited to then see where we're going to move forward here because, as I said, not too surprised that Cafe was banned out, as we're going to have a look at the picks. Consulate and Border making its 2nd appearance now, actually, for 6 Masters in this season. So Consulate, not too much of a surprise, but now Border. And I just want to say that I was actually having this discussion with not only, I think, yourself, but Guz and Raven, that we're at that point of the season where it's not a surprise to maybe start seeing Villa and Border a bit more often.
Yeah, well, in particular, those maps that haven't been played so far in this season, they're ones that not a lot of teams has VODs on. So, for example, for Ferox's perspective, there's really not much information on Consulate. It's just that map that they played against Wildcard 2 weeks ago. And for Elevate, still not very many players. Only played 3 times this year so far. So, in a couple games in the Pro League, they also played it last week against Sinister, which was a loss. So, a bit of a gamble for Elevate to pick Border after just losing it last week. From Ferox's perspective as well, going to Consulate, that's a really great map for Elevate as well. They 7-2'd Kanga, 7-4'd LFO, and they only showed some weaknesses back in the last season, the Pro League, when they faced TBD and Wildcards. So a bit of a gamble from both of these teams here. I think they're going to be counting on the fact that they haven't necessarily showed a lot of their map pick, and maybe they've got some innovations to bring to the table.
It's interesting that Border comes out here for Elevate, considering it didn't go their way, but it was a close matchup between themselves and Sinister last week, 6-8 on Border, considering that we haven't seen Ferox on Border for a very, very long time, in fact, and even then, that last time, they weren't able to take it out. So they probably backed themselves in here, and I think overall, based off of these map picks, I'm feeling quite confident for Elevate.
Yeah, on paper, I've got to agree with you. Elevate were the ones who chose to go to Border. There's not a lot of information on Ferox, but it seems like they're just sticking to their guns, so that's cool. Consulate, on paper, great map for Elevate, but Ferox, they have been practicing it clearly. They took Wildcard really close, and if we see another 7-8 between these 2 teams, whichever way it goes, it's going to be amazing.
Well, we do have the poll vote for you guys at home, of course, that you can participate in, and eager to see the results for this matchup. And, well, I must say, not too surprising, 64% voting for Elevate. There are a few draws in there and then a couple going for Ferox. So it's about a 60-30 split overall if you count the draws maybe on the side of Ferox.
Yeah, I'm not super surprised about this. I think that most people are going to go with that pretty safe Elevate pick. That said, if Six Masters has shown us anything so far, it's that any match can go either way. We could see a 2-0 sweep for Ferox here. I mean, that's not off the cards. Maybe unlikely, but Elevate, I mean, the pressure is on them. They're going into tonight thinking, okay, we've got to take the 6 points home. We've got to get both of these maps under our belt to make sure we can jump wildcard and be really strong for the rest of the season. They've already dropped 2 maps in the season so far, so it's Elevate that we're really looking to, and they're the ones under pressure. Yeah,
I mean, obviously, we've touched on it probably enough here, but it's Elevate's series to win. It's Elevate's series to make at least 2-0. I think even if it's a draw 1-1, that's more of a loss for Elevate than it is a win. It's more of a win for Ferox, so that's the way that that would probably be regarded. And if Ferox are able to get that draw, you know, I touched on it before, but their next few games are probably more winnable for a team like Ferox, and then that potentially gives them the momentum to take those games out, and who knows where they could finish there. So this is do or die crunch time for a team like Ferox, and for Elevate, it's a must win.
Yeah, absolutely. So much pressure on Elevate right now. They're the ones who need to close us out into 2-0 to get themselves ahead of wildcard and take that first place that they're so sought after. Ferox, let's see what you've got here on Consulate.
Consulate we go, and Consulate is where we begin tonight's actions as a whole. Of course, later on tonight, we've also then got Alifo versus Pittsburgh Knights after this Elevate versus Team Ferox series. Ying's going to be the first one banned, continues to be the most banned operator this season of Six Masters.
Yeah, people just not really wanting to deal with her at all, and it's funny because in ANZ in particular, we actually haven't seen very much or any Ying play at a high level, so we haven't really seen that potential revealed. But here is an unusual ban from the Ferox camp, getting that IQ off the board, a very uncommon ban, a very powerful operator, one of the really typical ones you'll see almost every round picked by teams, and this is going to force Elevate to think on their feet about whether they maybe want to get rid of a Valkyrie, maybe a Pulse or a Mozzie, one of those information gatherers that IQ would typically counter.
So first time that we've seen IQ banned this entire season. There were a couple of those last week where we had Thermite and Kaid banned as well for their first time. So teams starting to maybe just move away from the norm a little bit here in the pick ban phases. That's going to be that concluded. Onto Consulate we go now, and Elevate, the favorites, are going to be defending first up against Ferox.
Yeah, and we did end up seeing 2 information gatherers banned out for the defensive side, the Valkyrie by Ferox themselves. So on Consulate in particular, great map for Valkyrie, a lot of spaces outside the map, you know, on trees and pillars that you can put those Valkyrie cameras where they're hard to spot. Typically, you'll get an IQ to go searching for them. That's not the case because IQ's gone. So Ferox clearly, with that off the table, they want to make sure that no one from the opponent can put those Valkyrie cameras outside. So that's gone. And then the Pulse, also a great C4 operator, great information gatherer. That's gone. And you know what? That leaves us with a lot of these defenders that are really commonly banned, like Echo, which is brought here from Vast. The Maestro, which is often banned out and very powerful, particularly on Garage. And lastly, the Mirror. Some of these operators that we just see picked and banned so frequently, they're all on the cards here, which is going to make for some very interesting and spicy defenses.
So CO and Meeting will be the first bomb site for tonight's proceedings on Consulate. Elevate defending first, and I think coming into Consulate, you have to think defensively. They should get off to a good start here against Ferox. So it's up to Ferox to open things up, maybe try and be a little bit more aggressive.
10 seconds left.
Catch off guard, Elevate.
5 seconds to go.
It's tough to know exactly what strategy Ferox is going to go with, but that Thatcher on the table, one operator we didn't actually talk about much, but is so commonly banned and so powerful. That Thatcher on the table is going to enable Ferox to, and I mean, also Elevate when they switch over to the attack, to clear out a lot of util like ADSs and Wamai charges, especially on yellow stairs, which is such a common position to be held. That Thatcher can just clear all of that utility, and then Ferox can send nades in. They've got 4 nades. Sorry, just 2 nades, because Buck doesn't get nades anymore. 2 nades on the Maverick, and you can see this is exactly the push that they're going for. So they've got the Thatcher, Maverick's on the roof, ready to nade out. Deptra's there as well to help clear any ADSs if the Thatcher can't do it enough, but it looks like no one from Elevate is opting to play this power position of yellow stairs, and I think that's a smart move with the Thatcher on the board to clear out ADSs.
Attackers
Fair
have
enough.
located a bomb.
Ferox just trying to find out this information now. I like to focus more heavily on this western side of Consulate. Also then Admin and Visa.
Attackers covered
Red's already quite low actually, taking a hit. I believe by Todd. He's able to fall back.
Reloading.
But it is going to be slow and steady wins the race for Ferox to start things off rather than full steam ahead.
Was Ferox who picked this map of Consulate. The ones going into this knowing that they wanted to go with these bans that really kind of a bit unusual, throwing a bit of a spanner in the works, forcing these players and these teams to think on their feet. So far, setting up for the CEO execute, looking for picks, clearing out some util. That shield's gone. Nice work from Ferox. Oh, and that's a nice pick there from Sushi on that upside down rappel. Red tries to get a bit too aggressive and he's punished for it.
Well, the angle and the patience pays off for Ferox, holding that for a good part of a minute, minute and a half. Now with only a minute remaining, it's time to probably enter. Although God Legion does find Todd as soon as he was starting to push in. That's not what Ferox needed, considering they got that opening pick thanks to Sushi. God Legion is low, though, in that exchange. And so, Elevate not quite at full health. And Warden, very, very fortunate to not get taken out there.
Time's ticking away, but Ferox is still unsure about some of these positions. Shade wants to get himself into the private bathroom here, but a repel run out from Worthy does take him down, and Elevate spring into action here. 25 seconds left, and Ferox are going to get that plant down.
Well, they get the plant down, but they lose 2 members for it. That's the downside. Still holding out from the front is Deptra. Going to be smoked away, though. Forced to get off the rappel. Sushi up close and personal with the diffuser and immediately swatted out by Digital. That's going to be an easy counter defuse, you'd have to think. Deptra's trying to try and get back in. 5 seconds left on the counter defuse. We'll have the angle thanks to the window. Digital's going to be eliminated. 1 versus 2, but the diffuser is in sight of Deptra. Maybe a run out might be required here. Never mind. Vast goes straight for the window. Deptra gets the 3K. Ferox win the opening round in what seemed like an unlikely win, but Deptra comes up big on the window.
What a clutch for him as well. Deptra's been popping off. Such a difficult, stressful position to be in. And yes, the diffuser was down and he had the advantage of being in the position to cover it. But man, Elevate had the numbers advantage and, well, Deptra just held on 1 versus 3, taking out both of the players who were on the diffuser and that player covering. Just nuts stuff. And that's a good way to start Ferox's map pick.
That's a good way to sort of just get the blood pumping a little bit as well for the teams. Probably a few hell yeahs going in the comms as well. And get that momentum potentially building on the side of Ferox. I mean, Elevate didn't necessarily play that round badly. If anything, Ferox were taking their time, struggling to really get any sort of footing inside. Everything was just repelled. And in the end, though, that plant that Sushi was able to sort of get to meant that the position that it was planted in made it so easy for Deptra to hold it at the end.
Well, they aren't going to dwell on that for too long. Smart move. Don't want to get yourself down and after a position like that, especially because they had those opening picks. And they're just going to rotate straight on down, go for this garage defense next, especially with that Echo on the board. I'm surprised Maestro's not being picked. I suppose the Echo is just a replacement for that, but with that Echo on the board, a lot of options for denying that late push in from Elevate, especially, okay, I see it now. So the IQ is banned, so it's going to be really hard to find these Yokai drones. And on top of that, Ferox are bringing quite a lot of utility that would counter the Maestro cams from Maestro, the Evil Eyes. You got, what, 2 Ash charges, 2 Zephyr explosives, and Warden's grenades, plus the EMPs. So I like this choice from Elevate. They're rotating their map picks around what's actually been left in and what's available. On top of that, they're actually going for a heavy roam. 2 players working together upstairs, already taken out a few drones. Ferox going to have to deal with this or try and bypass.
Not Legion just hanging around Protector. At least from what we've seen Ferox one round in, now into the second. They're more than happy to just play patiently. I don't think you have to just rush in, funnel in. Warden's just going to open up Garage, obviously.
Nice usage of the Maverick trick here from Warden as well. If you do a nice line with the Maverick Torch all the way along the top and all the way along the bottom, it's going to destroy the reinforced part of the panel, and then you just need a little bit of a soft breacher like the Bark or what have you to finish the rest. You can see it's already worked on the right-hand side here. He's just going to finish it off with his rifle, get rid of the soft part. But there's something wrong with how he's done it on this left side. Oh, okay. I guess that's how you're going to do it, Warden. That's so messy. That's kind of disgusting, but all right. If it gets the job done, it gets the job done.
I thought he was going to start making a smiley face there on the wall, but he's missing an eye. I mean, Ferox are probably happy right now, but the minute 15 still remaining in this round. Pretty yellow stairs for Todd. At least he's been able to get a foothold inside of Consulate. Red's still on the first floor as well. Shade's going to get God Legion falling back down. That's a nice frag. This should make it a little bit easier now to gain control of this first floor.
Opting instead of hunting those roamers, just waiting for them to rotate back. Smart move from Shade, and Vast is just below his hatch. Gotta be careful. But still, because Ferox haven't cleared out Red here, they don't have control in Piano and Chamber, which is usually used to flush out some of these key anchor positions. Eventually, Todd takes out Red from Yellow Soda. But 30 seconds left. Warden's down. Sushi's going to have to revive him, and that gas is going to make him super vulnerable. This is really late for Todd. He's going to start trying to clear out these positions on site.
Shade walks straight in. Is able to get Worthy. 5 versus 2. And Ferox continue to bring that momentum in from the first round. Digital and Vast as the last 2 remaining. Going to have to go for the retake, but as soon as he steps out, that's going to be very unlikely. Vast is able to get Shade, though. 1 versus 3. Never mind. From the hatch. And it's 2 rounds now to Ferox.
Another good one. I'm really impressed so far by Ferox. They are unrelenting on this attacking side. And haven't really let Elevate get a moment of reprieve, especially since we're going into this, and a lot of these typical defending operators like your Maestro, your Echo, they're unbanned. They're left in there. And well, Elevate have full ability to use them. IQ's even banned, and you got Echo in, but that doesn't matter. Ferox is still getting these plants down.
I mean, I can't say I'm necessarily too surprised. I mean, when we were mentioning in the pregame how strong Elevate are considered to be coming into this series, I think we should have probably harped on a little bit more that it could still very well be close, even if Elevate do make it 2-0. Ferox is not to be counted out. You know, as you said, even you wouldn't be surprised if it goes 2-0 in favor of Ferox. These things can happen. Sometimes you just wake up on the right side of bed. And at least in Ferox's case, they've woken up on the right side coming into Consulate as they start 2-0 very strongly now. Elevate have got a bit of catching up to do.
This is Ferox's map pick, and clearly they've done their homework. They're coming in here with some unorthodox bans. And it's making Elevate change their way. To me, the most unusual ban here from Ferox is the IQ. They get rid of that IQ, and note that Elevate aren't actually starting on the attack right now. They're preemptively changing their strategies to try to incorporate the Echo because he hasn't been banned, and because the IQ has been banned. But this thinking on their feet from Elevate hasn't been translating into round wins just yet.
And I mean, for Ferox, the last time they played
though.
The last time that they played on Consulate was 7-8 versus Wildcard. You know, that's not such a bad scoreline. I know they didn't come away with the win, but that's close enough where they probably feel that if we just do our homework just a little bit, we can figure out a way to take this map against a team like Elevate. So, seemingly, they have done their homework.
Yeah, definitely. And Deptra placing that drone in garage to be careful of any flanking players later. Looks like a very similar kind of hold, but Elevate have moved some of their utility around. You can see one of my magnets in positions to prevent Ferox from destroying the shield that Red has. Now, this is a great shield here because Red can play it from the long desk to cover and play against the CEO windows, but he can also play it the other direction as well.
Oh, depth shot. I was literally about to say, sitting at that CO window. Does get red from that position as well. Digital just sitting and meeting. Has to be careful of the line of sight that Depsha may be able to find. CO's open for the time being, but how much longer remains to be seen. God Legion down below. And Worthy even further down below. So vertical control seemingly for Elevate is in their mind. But right now, for Ferox, they're happy to just repel and then eventually push onto side at the last minute.
Worthy has to be careful. We know that Deptra put a drone downstairs watching for his rotation, so it's likely Ferox are aware of his position. Now, Repel's just going to come on out, and willy-nilly, Sushi gets in the bomb site, starts this plan. The Echo's going to start to concuss, but it can only delay for about 14 seconds. The second Echo drone comes on through. Oh, and the Thatcher's going to lock that out. Deptra frags are going all the way. Ferox now Elevate just have God Legion, and he's cut off as well. A flawless attack, and that's 3 in a row for Ferox.
I mean, as I said, Elevate are more focused on trying to have the vertical control on the inside of Consulate. Ferox more than happy to just repel. Deptra was sitting at that window the entire round. Eventually, Sushi just comes by and says, hey, I might as well just go in and plant. It was open. It was open for about 30 seconds before he went in. And from that point onwards, well, the round then just quickly finished off as soon as he got that plant down. I think Elevate started to panic and try and run back to site, and they just get caught off too easily. Go back down to Kitchen Garage, and 3-0 to Ferox. It's a surprising start, and we'll see if they can keep it up.
They are changing at least something, bringing that mirror instead of the mute. Mirror is good to prevent that kind of easy plan. It's free information and very difficult to counter. Unlikely that we'll see Ferox have a suitable counter to it, especially because there is no Hibana or Twitch on the table. We also saw the Maverick being switched over in the 6-pick phase to the Thermite from Warden there. So I think Warden is aware that there's not going to be a lot of utility ready to deny this garage wall, so he's happy to just Thermite it open. It's much faster as well. Smart move. That said, it does sacrifice 2 frag grenades, which would be useful for getting rid of these Maestro cams. So maybe Elevate playing a bit of mind games, because previously they picked the Maestro but 6-picked onto the Echo. Clearly Elevate thinks, okay, this Echo isn't working out. They're thatchering really well, and they're just shooting our Echo drones when we try and bring them in over the floor. So I like these adaptations from both teams. Ooh, and actually a mirror upstairs to prevent this vertical play. I like that from Red. The 2 mirror windows ready. 1 on site and 1 upstairs. Good information. I'm actually surprised that the mirror hasn't been placed in security. The room we're directly above right now. This is the most common place for a mirror. You put a reinforcement on the middle panel facing towards garage and put your mirror there. But no, instead it's been placed in cafeteria. Maybe the smoke's going to play behind that and throw gas all the way onto the plant. But Warden gets that garage 2 panels open nice and quickly. Only 30 seconds down.
I mean, the thinking is probably we're going to want someone in that first floor bathroom, and we may as well just put the mirror there. You can drop down. He does get aggressed on. That garage door already open up. Last time we saw Ferox down here in the basement at Cafeteria, they had a pretty easy start thanks to an early pick. So this time they won't have that early pick. They don't all want to just funnel through garage. They're going to need a bit of vertical control on that first floor.
Well, they've got to be cautious because this Ash could destroy that mirror window in garage if there's no ADSs or Myers to counter it. Red decides to get aggressive. He clearly doesn't have info. This is a really risky play. Ash charge going to go out, and I think that also got caught out. So Deptra's all out of Ash charges. Potentially the Zafia still has some, but for the most part, it looks like this mirror is going to stay intact. It is on a soft wall, however, so Ferox can just keep shooting around it and potentially get a lucky shot onto anyone on the other side. Thatcher EMP also opens up that Evil Eye, but the Evil Eye turns it away, so it can't be shot. Smart move.
Elevate clearly going for that first floor control. Worst case scenario, just go through retake, bit of sound. Todd's going to be flashed out. They know he's behind the piano. Oh, God Legion through the piano. Up on the second one, though, immediately, though. Yep. 50 seconds remaining.
And then the wall bang.
Oh my goodness. Shade gets red. 4 versus 4 now. God Legion's also very low. They've got the diffuser, but they're running out of time.
I don't know where God is in benches, and likely the Ash doesn't check the angle. There's a freebie for God, 2 on the round. As you mentioned, just 30 seconds left, and Ferox, they have an entrance, but these smoke babes are going to lock him out for a bit longer. Good positions here from Digital. He still has 1 babe in the pocket. This is where push has to come to shove.
20 seconds remaining. Digital just trying to buy time, essentially, with these smokes. Warden pushing over to yellow stairs. Now he's able to get God Legion off guard. He was low, though. That made it easier for Warden. There's the peak. Immediately, Deptra gets the elimination. 1 versus 2 remaining. Knows where 1 is. Doesn't have the...
What?
Oh, never mind! What? How did he just wallbangs Worthy? Well, watch this back. Never mind. A bit of help.
Oh, man.
Okay. Well, they both knew where he was. We saw it from a different angle there, but that's okay.
Yeah, I thought that was a wallbang from the other. I thought that was a Fear got the kill, but yeah. Man, it seems like Elevate getting themselves into advantageous positions. I mean, here, they had the numbers advantage, and Ferox is just so good at yeeting into the bomb site and closing this off when they need to. 4-0 at the moment in favor of Ferox. And man, this is where you got to start thinking, oh, damn, I hope Elevate have got some good attacks when they switch over the sides.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, at the end of the day, we are going to have to see them switch sides, but you do feel like Ferox have come in here with a game plan. That's the sense that we're getting here. And, well, I'm assuming they'll have a game plan for the defense as well. And they've done their homework. Elevate haven't quite submitted it just yet, but there's plenty of time still remaining. They can turn things around.
Get that A+. I don't know, maybe an A+ is a bit late at the moment, but potentially a B still on the cards. And Elevate have just been switching between bottom floor, top floor, bottom floor, top floor to no avail. I do like a lot of the adaptations they've made, but it seems like Ferox just seems able to pull something out of nothing and keep these numbers advantages, making strong entrances onto the bomb site. Blitz in last minute.
5 seconds to insertion.
You keep saying that, you know, Elevate have tried a little bit of everything, but nothing is working, obviously. And so when nothing's working, what do you change to make something work? And Elevate, unfortunately, may be running out of ideas here because Ferox just are in such total control from their attacking side.
Yes, one of the things that has changed is Vask jumping on that Doc. Pretty unusual pick, but typically Doc is used for his ACOG. A lot of the reasons why you pick him. So you can have a defender who can take these long-range engagements. You can also potentially heal up players that have been damaged in other positions. So looks like Elevate are going to try and hold on a little bit longer to these yellow stairs. And what's quite good about that is Ferox haven't brought the Maverick this round, so they actually don't have any grenades to flush him out. They're just going to have to rely on some stuns and potentially the Zephyr concussions. So Digital going to be a bit safer than maybe he would have been otherwise.
Definitely over the first 4 rounds, Elevate have not really been winning their duels. At best case scenario, maybe 1 or 2 is able to get away. Low health, that's where the Doc can be handy as well. Just to re-heal, get back into the fight. And no surprise with the way that Ferox continue to play this. They've been steadfast on the repel game, pushing in slow. They'll find a pick. They know that if they're patient enough, someone's going to run through a position that they've got covered. It might be Digital here, if he's not careful.
This is the dance of the yellow stairs and private bathroom. Happens so often, and Digital's doing a good job so far. He hasn't got any kills, hasn't landed any damage, but that doesn't matter. He's just stayed there and delayed Ferox. But we know Ferox, even when it comes down to the dying moments, they can blitz in and take control of the round. Then a few seconds, Todd is in yellow stairs, but Vast gets the first kill. Shade is good for 1, and that's private controlled. Digital goes down. We also see the Wamai relocate, and a C4 from below. That's the play that they needed. Oh, a bit of team damage there, but God Legion and Worthy below. They're holding on, 52 seconds. Ferox now at a numbers deficit. Now it's just going to spiral here. Just Warden and Deptra to salvage.
And I was going to say it, Shade was already quite low on health anyway, so yes, he dies to the C4, but it wasn't that bad. But then now losing Sushi makes it a lot harder in a 2 versus 4 for Warden and Deptra. But I'm not going to lie, even with 30 seconds left, I kind of feel like Deptra's just in a zone. Never mind. As soon as I finish saying it, Red does eventually flush him out. I don't think you can blame me for maybe just thinking Depcha had some sort of a chance. The way that he and Ferox have been playing so far here in Consulate, but it does look like Elevate are going to finally find their first round win.
10 seconds remaining.
Warden can find one, but it's just consolation for Axe at this point. He'll get finished off. Elevate finally get themselves on the board. 1 round on the defense. Even if they win this next round and head into their attack at a 2-4 deficit, it's not an enviable position to be in, but it's something to work from, and there is a possibility there to take this map, or at least take it to overtime as a first step. Might not need it, though, if they have some strong attacks and they can lock out this next round.
Well, on 4, things have turned around for Elevate.
Especially because it was not close. You know, that round was a decisive win from Elevate.
I hadn't touched my keyboard for 30 minutes and my screens went black and I had a heart attack, Dev. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen that no one got to see, but I was like, no, please, no technical difficulties, not tonight, please. But no, we're good, we're fine.
Protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
But look, I think for Elevate, that's the one that you need to maybe just turn your fortunes around a little bit. You just get just one, and then you can stop the rot a bit. Realize, okay, we figured out their game plan. They're a bit slow. They like to repel. They're using, the windows on the south side a lot.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Understand sort of how to play around it.
Elevate did a really good job at not only stalling out time at that yellow stairs and private take, but also having a couple of cheeky things up their sleeves in order to find some kills when eventually Ferox took control. So the two main things I'd note was when Vast was playing the dock, he had that long angle and took out Todd on yellow stairs, thanks to the ACOG, and also we had that C4 from God below. Spawn pick here from Worthy, ballsy. Be careful, doesn't get taken out. A couple pre-fires come out. He's so keen for it. He wants to get this numbers advantage nice and early, but thinks better of it. This is a lobby defense, lobby press.
It's something different from Elevate. Even though they won that last round, now you try something even more advantageous. Risk versus reward, obviously, if Worthy goes down, they're less than ideal, but it's something different. You know they're repelling, you know that they're pushing from there. If we can just peek it a bit earlier, catch them off guard, they're not going to expect it. But this is where the reason probably why it's been difficult for Elevate to find these early picks is that Ferox have just been slow going.
And something I do like from Elevate is they decided not to go for that garage defense that they've already lost twice. Oof. Wow. Shade does find that first pick. Not sure. Oh, we was downstairs. Wait a second. Shade's on site. Shade's in public right now. Where did he come from? And Warden's going to repel into press as well. What is this from Ferox?
It's against the grain. It's something different. And maybe that round loss is when they've decided, all right, we're going to have to push in a bit earlier this time, catch them off guard. They think that they've figured us out when, yet, no, we've still got plan B in the back pocket to pick up another round or two on attack here. Digital at yellow. Stairs. Pushes up, coming in from behind to see if he can roam in, find a frag or two as he re-enters towards the bomb site. A spiral for Worthy. The ACOG's certainly going to help in this battle. Whether it was Todd or Warden, I'm not exactly sure. How low though?
Warden taken so low on HP, gonna drone up, and there you go. The dock has been spotted. Trying to find an angle through the hatch in garage, looking up in towards public where that Shade, the Ash, did take control of before. Worthy trying to retake the top floor now, but he's a slow operator, makes a lot of noise. Really gonna be trying to leaning into these long-range engagements. And Shade finds another one. Been so impactful this round. Digital goes down and Red caught out as well. A good repel on the spiral from Ferox. Wow. And there you go. The second flawless round. And Ferox go into their defensive half at a 5-1.
And that ending that we saw just then was such a replica to what we saw in one of the earlier rounds where Ferox just got they had another flawless round earlier on. And it was just that same style of just the defensive Elevate running back to site and just getting caught off because Ferox had everything covered. They had everything on lockdown. 5-1 attacking side. Now they switch over to defense. And this is where the question does get asked. Can Ferox continue to keep this up now on their defensive side?
I really feel like Elevate were just struggling for information there. You saw Worthy trying to retake top floor. He's checking every angle. He doesn't know where these players are. And also Red, who is the Wamai, caught out on the rotate. He had no idea where any of the position of the defenders were. And typically when you've got 1, 2, maybe 3 players on your team dead, they're going to be sitting on cameras calling out things for you. But I feel like that pulse ban and that Valkyrie ban has really affected these teams' ability to get that information gathering. A lot of the information gathering that is remaining is things like Maestro cameras, which are quite easy to spot. And so Ferox will know exactly, or the attackers rather, will know exactly what kind of information the defenders have and what kind of plays that enables. That's why we've also seen a lot of Mozzie leaned into, but Mozzie has to catch a drone before he can even get any information with his gadget. So I'll be interested to see whether Team Ferox does a better job than Elevate at getting information and enabling plays based on it.
Attacker's objective is to defuse a bomb.
Certainly agree, and you've touched on it a few times now, but of course the IQ ban as well really just sort of changes the entire shape of this game. It's not an operator that's typically banned. It's the first time that IQ's been banned this entire season. So, you know, potentially maybe catching Elevate off guard with that, but now of course, you know, they're not going to have IQ. Ferox are like, okay, we didn't need IQ. Now you don't get IQ.
Yeah, Elevate going for the Nomad, something we didn't see picked out by Ferox, trying to prevent that aggression. Really powerful in this map, especially for shutting down outside runouts. We see teams like TBD who like to play aggressive, ban it all the time. My question is Ferox even going to try and go for these aggressive peaks? That's one of the Mozzie drones taken out by Red. Nice work. But yeah, is Ferox going to be enabled to go for aggressive peaks? Because there's not really much information thanks to the lack of the Valkyrie and the Pulse. So I wonder if that Nomad might even be a wasted pick. Just spots out player on the pixel. Nomad charge goes down. And that's going to lock Deptra off for now.
And that's okay. He's still got time. Can rotate back. It does mean that Red can start to push up. Has to be careful. Very aggressive though from Red.
Interesting shield placement there in meeting as well. Very unusual. You can see just trying to waste his ADSs. Hopefully that's all the ADS is gone and Worthy can send a explosive in there to clear out the shield. So no damage done to either side. Another shield here in this very common position. That shield is still up though in meeting. There's no player in meeting any longer. It's just going to force the vault here from any Elevate player, which gives Shade on this long angle from the front desk a really favored engagement.
And you can also just see the difference between how both of these two teams have been attacking these sites. I mean, I know it's only Elevate's first attacking round, but pushing in from the east, not as much repelling as we saw from Ferox, electing to try and push up yellow stairs, take control from that way. Shade with the shield, able to just see and watch long desk. 35 seconds left. Elevate getting prepared now for their push in.
Still don't have control of the top floor, however, and Deptra finds that opening. Red goes down. Where is this execute onto lobby? Going for the plant now. It's Digital. God Legion sends himself in. A C4 goes down. Digital dodges it, and there's a frag, but refragged eventually. Another kill. It's just a rain so far, and it's all up to Vast now. He's going to get taken down on the drop. My goodness, what was that? But Ferox come out on top with the manslaughter.
And the C4 started it all, stopping the plant from Digital, trying to just force him back out. It worked, didn't get the kill itself, but pushed him back out. Match point. I cannot believe we are already seeing that at this point. And also the fact that it's 6-1 to Ferox. I'm flabbergasted.
It's crazy. Crazy. And it makes you wonder, you know, we're at 6-1 here. Pretty safe bet to say that Ferox is going to take this map. But what about the next map? What about when we finally actually do get to Border, which Elevate picked? Is this 6-1 head start really going to turn the tables and affect Elevate and Ferox mentally going into the second map and give Ferox even more of a leg up?
Yeah, I mean, you've mentioned it that, of course, Ferox were able to pick this map, right? This was their pick, and well, they've played like it's their pick. That they own this map, that they know what they're doing here in Consulate. Whereas, as you said, Border, okay, we saw them play Border last week for Elevate. They played it really, really well, even though they didn't get the win. But I still think that I still think we're going to a 1-1 draw, right? I think the 1-1 draw now looks like it's going to be more likely. But hey, who am I to count out Ferox going into Border potentially when they've played 6-1 so far on Consulate? Like it almost feels like it would be unfair to count them out on Border, considering we've only seen Border played once, in the past few weeks.
It's definitely not a lot of info for both of these teams on Border. And I mean, if Ferox are a team that has done their VODs, if they predicted Border was probably going to be a map, then that means they would have been scrimming it a lot. It means they would have been watching Elevate's match from last week. Difficult to say whether it was predictable that Elevate would have taken us to Border. I don't think I would have necessarily predicted it, but I don't know, maybe it is that next spec map. I mean, Consulate and Cafe were what I had for Elevate's 2 best maps. And I mean, clearly, Cafe got banned out, right, by Ferox. That makes sense. Consulate being the next best map, I'm scratching my head thinking maybe not. We're looking at a 6-1 right now.
Yeah, you might have to change that, I think, in the notes for next week for Consulate and Elevate based off of this. But look, I mean, before we completely write off Elevate entirely, it is 6-1, so it's hard to sit back and say, yeah, maybe there's a chance, maybe, just maybe. But that's a long, long way to go. Elevate having to turn things around here, I think it's maybe too little too late. But if they were to turn things around, how are they going to be able to do this from this position as well, where they cannot lose a single round from here?
I don't know. I mean, they're going to have to show some really strong attacks on Garage and Console Office, and they're probably going to have to re-attack Lobby. If they manage to get some wins on Garage and Console, they will have to re-attack Lobby eventually, because I bet you Ferox will take us there. So, and they're going to have to be really adaptable. They're going to have to be able to think on the fly. And so far, their between round innovations haven't been successful for the most part. It's just that one round that Elevate won. It was a 4v1 at the end of it. So it was a really good lopsided round towards Elevate. But aside from that, really hasn't looked like they've been in the game. So I don't know if it's possible. I don't know. I'm a hard stretch to imagine a world where Elevate even gets 2 more rounds this map.
No, I definitely agree with you. And, when you look at the scoreline 6-1, that scoreline tells the story. In some cases, you might have a night where a team just keeps winning those 50-50 matchups and where the rounds themselves are super close. But I've got to say 1-6 definitely is fair to Ferox. There's no lie in that. It's not like, okay, maybe 3 of those were like super lucky. Maybe it shouldn't be that. Maybe it should be like 4-3 in favor of Elevate. But no, they definitely deserve this match point that they're going to be going into. And to come back from here for Elevate would have to be the best comeback this season of Six Masters.
Yeah,
by far.
Totally. And it's got to be all on Ferox's attacks. They were just so good. The fact that they were always able to collapse within the last few seconds and turn a man advantage into a round victory was hugely impactful. And if I take a look at the opening engagements so far in this series, only 2 of the opening engagements have been won by Elevate. For the other, the other 5 have been won by Ferox. Shade's 2-0, Deptra's 2-0 at the moment for opening KD. And I mean, Red, the chief support player, he's 0-3. He's been picked first 3 times. And Ferox have done such a good job at converting that. In fact, I'm going to break it down round by round. The round where Elevate... the round where Elevate actually won was one of only 2 rounds where Elevate had that first engagement victory, and it was where they had they were defending the top floor. Ferox had attacked them multiple times on that, always on the same push, and Elevate came up with a new strat on the fly, or a couple new tricks to counter that. Perfect, but I mean that was way too little, way too late, and it was just 1 round, and they didn't even follow that through with a victory on lobby press. So I'm super skeptical right now for Elevate. Despite me coming into this matchup expecting the 2-0 in their favor, I don't think they're going to win this map. Don't think there's a shot in it, especially not with the form at the moment that we've seen. And even next map, now that Ferox has had such good form, and this is a border where Elevate lost last week to Sinister, I'm going to be the skeptic.
I don't want to heap too much praise on Ferox, but this 6-1 scoreline is because they have been playing very, very well. Like, this is on their performance more so than Elevate. Elevate haven't looked exactly horrible by any stretch that, like, they probably feel hard done by. This is 1-6. They're sitting there like, how is this 1-6? And yet, Ferox right now should be absolutely pumped as we will head back in for what very well could be the last round of Consulate already.
Look, we had a brief chat to Sushi from Ferox before this started, just because we were doing some rehearsals for the player interviews, which we'll get at the end of this match. And you remember what Sushi said? He was like, "Oh, you know, I'm not sure how to feel about this game. You know, team's a bit nervous. We're not sure how we're on our best form at the moment." And then they come out and do this. Like, what? Yeah. Where has that come from?
It's that inner confidence that once you cross the white line, once you get into game, they've been working on this map. Clearly, you've picked it, you've done the homework, you played it, you know, recently, and that was close against a team like Wildcard too, right? So whatever they've changed has definitely changed for the better, to the point where I'm not sure if Ferox are going to get this map pick again next week. This might just be banned away from them.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see teams just get rid of this against Ferox. Maybe if a team is really confident in their Consulate, they're willing to give it a shot. But you know, Elevate were looking at this thinking, look, we have a pretty strong record on Consulate. We've won it twice so far in the recent weeks, so far in the 6 Masters against LFO and Kanga. And they were both dominating, right? 7-4 against LFO, 7-2 against Kanga. That's Elevate's record this season. And they're potentially putting a 1-7 loss to Ferox. In addition to that, it's going to make us really question Elevate's form on this map.
Well, there's only one way to get back into this game here on Consulate for Elevate. It's just one round at a time. And I think if I was just in the team there, in the comms, I'd be saying, look, we don't want to lose 1-7. That looks horrible on our record. Let's at least go up to 2, then 3, then 4. Work our way back one round at a time. And who knows, if you get it to like 4-6, by that point, Ferox are going to start sweating. That's only 3 round wins. That's not exactly a whole lot for a team like Elevate as well. What we potentially expected to see from them tonight. They should feel confident that they can come back, that it is a possibility for them.
Todd put under the pump here, and a grenade does take him out. Really good work from Elevate so far, salvaging this attack, but is the Doc able to get close enough? No, the second nade comes and cleans them up. God Legion finds one as well onto Warden. This is a really good start for Elevate. They've come strong out of this rehost.
I'm already feeling the montage video being created of us sitting in the rehost, opening it up, and then following with the cool epic music as the comeback from Elevate begins. Go up to 2-6, 3-6, 4-6. It could happen. Long way to go, but this is the start that you need to have.
Totally on the cards, but let's not get too excited yet for our own sakes and for Elevate's. A 5 versus 3, but you can see how keen Sushi is to take a fight on one of these angles. No doubt Deptra is the same, but he's shut down from Vast. Now taking the exact same angle is Sushi. Is he going to have more luck than his teammate? Wamar on the flank, but he does get 1 kill. It's a good job for Shade. He's been on fire tonight. But Sushi's the only man on site. Plant going down. He knows that player is holding his cross in private. And now, with Worthy getting that kit down, we know how difficult this is to retake, especially with Ferox at a numbers disadvantage.
There's a lot to be asked here for Sushi and Shade, and, well, we won't ask anything of them anymore. Round win goes to Elevate. Time to potentially come back begins now.
Possible. Little piece by piece. And, you know, ironically, Elevate the 2... Oh, it's not really irony. I know a lot of people get hate for using that word incorrectly, so I'm just going to say not ironically. Funnily enough, the 2 rounds that Elevate have won really hinged around that yellow stairs and private bathroom hold. The first defense they won was because they figured out a really nice way to have extra ways of killing players who tried to take that. So Digital played safely in private. They had the ACOG of, who was on the dock? It was Vast. And also God Legion below the C4 to kill players who finally took yellow stairs in private. That's what spearheaded Elevate previously. And then their attack onto yellow stairs was just to perfection in that round. Of course, just being good at one particular aspect of this map, that yellow stairs clear and hold, doesn't mean you're going to be good at Garage, for example, or Lobby. We've seen them already flop at that Garage, that Lobby attack, and Garage is where Ferox going to take us next. Still locked out of Lobby for one more round. A couple unusual picks, mainly this Castle. Not very commonly picked, but there's a lot of utility from Elevate that could clear that. Ash charges, Zephyr charges, a couple of grenades from Maverick. But some good information denial as well from Ferox. You can see that Mute and Mozzie. I was about to say Mosquito. I don't know why I tried to say the full name. Mute and Mozzie going to make it a bit difficult to drone for the attackers. So I think there's an extended hold. Yeah, Castle as well on the Visa door. So no, sorry, just a barricade rather. Ferox are really extending this hold, trying to hold as much map control as possible.
I do like to see that though, because we've been seeing Elevate elect for that verticality more than Ferox, and it feels like Ferox are going to respond to it here in this round, particularly since they're in the basement. They want to make sure that they don't lose control of this first floor, especially CO meeting around there. Okay, pushes back down.
Yeah, that's one. Castle barricade already destroyed. Yep, yellow stairs door.
One on site, which is Sushi. So Ferox bringing some of their maybe attacking offense to their defensive side here. This is where things could backfire. If you move too far away to what you usually how you play, you can fall into a trap here, and Elevate can get that momentum. Then 3-6 doesn't seem so bad. Warden's low, so Ferox already at a disadvantage, although only slightly.
This Castle barricade means Todd doesn't have to be so worried about that push from long desk, from break room, where he knows his team has already sacrificed that ground. Worthy cutting off these rotations. Also going to take out that drone in main lobby. Ooh, I heard a Nomad charge detonate. Where was that air jab? Not sure. One of these roamers likely cut off. But no capitalization on that kill. Warden does finally get the opening. That's Vast going down. An earlier engagement, Vast was the one to get ahead in the damage game, but Warden wins that outright.
Minute 15 seconds remaining. Elevate lose a player. Now they're losing time. Warden playing on the second floor private bathroom. That's how much verticality that Ferox wanted in this round in particular. Now though, the rest of the team start to fall back towards garage and cafeteria. And Digital better hurry up with this blowtorch, I'd have to say. He's only got 50 seconds in total.
And we still have these roamers upstairs. Two of them centered around yellow. Elevator decided instead of focusing on them, they're going to try and cat them on the rotations, and it works to perfection. Worthy with two. Was that an entry onto the site? Yes, there was still roamers active. It's really going to be looking to them to clean this up. Detra gets refragged. Todd also finds a flank, takes out the player on site. A Nomad charge detonates, and there as well, Todd gets taken out, but not out. All on Warden now, and only two players for him to find.
20 seconds remaining. Warden, though, below half health, is going to be able to try and get Todd back up. A yellow's red, though, is just able to push through, get them both. Elevate 2 rounds in a row now. Red not allowing that, and, well, easy as that, pretty much.
You can see
it begins.
Interesting
It begins, Dev.
It begins. What are we at? 3-6 now? Oh, I don't want to get my hopes up. I don't want to get the Elevate fans' hopes up yet, but hey, it's on the cards. You know, we can push that overtime, and if they do, that's 5 rounds in a row to get them there. What's the kind of momentum that they would have in overtime if they do crack all the way along? Elevate, they are starting to pick up their feet a little bit. That round, a couple of mid-round adaptations seeming to work well for them. The first initial strategy was to just do a complete clear on this run, top down. They lost that initial engagement. They got some good ground on the top floor, pushing from the admin side, but eventually lost that initial engagement. They then decided, okay, let's just change the strategy completely. Let's not keep trying to push these guys hanging out around yellow in private. Let's just go for the push onto site. Got a few good openings, and then they also cut off rotations of these players pushing back to site. Once they had control of Garage, it really forced Ferox to flank, and a lot more desperately as well. Put Elevate in favored positions. This Nomad has also been super helpful for Red. Contrasting to what I'd expected, these air jabs aren't being deployed mostly to prevent runouts, but mostly just flanks within the interiors of the building. And while they aren't always converted directly into kills, it's a lot of really good information gathering from Elevate, and it's denying these flanks. Whether it's getting the kill or not, the Ferox player who's trying to flank is just getting scared and running away. So it's doing its job.
You just wonder though, if Ferox blow this, and I mean really blow this, and Elevate somehow take Consulate, how much hope do you really then give them on border? Because we were talking in that rehost, it was 6-1 at that point, and we thought, oh, well, Ferox, if they take this out 7-1 or even something like 7-2, you give them a big opportunity, big shot on border. And now I'm not so sure if Elevate really bring this right back. But of course, border's going to be the map pick of Elevate as well. Ferox surely don't find themselves in a position where they might end up going 0-2 in this series after being up 6-1. Still a lot of time, still a lot of rounds. And in their case, they probably don't even want to let this get to overtime. Good start, though, in this round, though, for Elevate. Deptra able to even up the scoreline 4-4.
And that's 3 stun grenades that could be chewing up ADSs, which are gone, and 3 air jabs, of course. But just touching on Ferox for a moment, they have experience going through a really hard-fought series. Just last week, they faced Oceanic, went 7-8 loss on the first map, a clubhouse, and they came back to win the next map, a hard-fought 8-6. So I would never count Ferox out. Their stamina is something to be admired.
Shade finds Digital. Piece by piece, one by one, they fall. Elevate can't afford to lose too many more. God Legion, Worthy, and Vast. All capable from here.
Attacker's bomb
Second
diffuser
floor,
has been dropped.
Deptra was in that fight with Worthy. Comes out on top. God Legion gets the trade back, though. So it's 2-3 now, rather than 3-4. 1 minute and 10 seconds remaining. This could be it for Elevate if they lose this round. It'll be 7-3 to Ferox on Consulate.
But Legion and Vast pushing separately. Vast can't drone up ahead. That multi-pest preventing. Attacker's just going to push on out. God gets a bit of information, but he loses his drone. He knows where that Wamai is in public, but it's not really a lot of useful information. Diffuser is still on the roof, and it might be that Elevate just have to abandon all hope of trying to keep that diffuser, trying to get that plant down, and just go for kills from here on out. 2v3, though, it's not impossible. But time is ticking away. And still, Elevate are starved for information. They don't know whether there are still players from Ferox on this top floor, but working together now. Good job clearing all these angles. Top floor control now. Very nice. There's a lot more work to do in 20 seconds.
There's only 20 seconds left. They're wasting so much time on this second floor. I understand they're going to push through, but when you're in this position where you have to now find these frags, 10 seconds left, Ferox don't even have to be involved here. Just sit tight. And, well, God Legion loses that already. That's going to be the round over. That's going to be the match over as well. Ferox, a little bit of a scare there towards the end, but they come in on top 7-3, and for the most part, a deserved win.
A stronger scoreline, 7-3, maybe not even giving credit to how good Ferox were on their attacks, but they do close it out. Nice little cap there from the collection, the Grand Larceny collection on the Wamai of Shade. Those kills are not fully accurate to the game because we did have that rehost, but 7-3 for Ferox on Elevate's map pick. And what we're continuing the trend from last week where all these teams won their opponent's map picks. What is with that? And what does that mean for Ferox going into... Sorry, Ferox won their own map pick. Never mind, I'm talking rubbish. Ferox wins their own map pick, 7-3 so dominantly, only losing 1 attacking round. What does that mean going into border? Oh, crazy.
Well, the analogy I think that we had off air with Raven was that the picks just don't matter. Last week, everyone was just winning each other's opposite picks. Now, of course, maybe we go back to teams winning their own picks. At the end of the day, everyone that's in Six Masters here knows how to play these maps, and they're all at a very high level, and they can all take maps off each other. Elevate would have felt confident going into Consulate against Ferox. Ferox would have felt confident that they did their homework, and in the end, they did, and they won that convincingly thanks to their attacking side. Obviously, Elevate were probably giving them a little bit of a heart scare towards the end there, but 7-3, comfortable scoreline, worthy win, and going into border, I still favor Elevate here on border just because of what we saw them play against Sinister last week. While they didn't win, they looked good, and it was the only time we've seen border for a long time. So they've got that recent experience that probably Ferox don't have.
Yeah, and Ferox haven't played this in 2 months, and the last time that it was relevant in one of their games when they banned it against Knights 2 weeks ago. So, 3 weeks ago now, but I don't know what, Ferox, it's very much uncharted territory, very little info to go off, and that actually can work in their favor as well. If they just come out and throw a few curveballs, have a couple pocket straps up there, if they have been practicing it, if they do have it within their map pool, it could give Elevate a bit of a scare because Elevate won't know what Ferox is going to bring to the table on border. In contrast, Ferox have the VOD of Elevate losing to Sinister last week that they can go over. So in terms of information, pre-match information, Ferox actually have the advantage going into border.
Yeah, they certainly do. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, Ferox are going to look to try and make it 2-0.
Attackers dropping. 10 seconds. 10 seconds. 15 seconds to go. Seconds left.
Please hold. Your call is very important to us. All operators are busy at this time.
Don't even realize I've already made a path, and I can change it anytime. I can't take it back. I know what I want, but it seems so damn far away. I know I sound crazy to the ones who said oh. I know I empower those who dream like me. I know I sound crazy to the ones who said oh. I know I empower those who dream like me. And you say you wanna be somebody. You got a voice, then you better use it. Tell yourself day after day it's time to prove it. No days off, keep the hustle moving. Wanna see you be what you wanted to be, prove it. I know I sound crazy to the ones who said oh. I know I empower those who dream like me. I know I sound crazy to the ones who said oh. I know I empower those who dream like me. And you say you wanna be somebody. And you say you wanna be somebody. And you say you wanna be somebody. And you say you wanna be somebody.
So far from close. It's so hard to find my destiny. Try not to drift apart, 'cause you'll be
Well, we are back from the break. Ferox 7-3 taking the first map on Consulate. We're heading into border very shortly. Dev, can you believe what really just transpired? I'm still coming to grips with it.
Particularly that 5-1 first half on the attack for Ferox. Just nuts. With so many good defensive operators left unbanned, Ymira, Maestro, Echo, you just don't expect to see that kind of stuff. And man, I've got to say, I'm hugely impressed. And that map victory as well is going to put Ferox tied 4th place with 4 other teams on 9 points. That's just crazy.
Yeah, they also now have the opportunity to take the series out 2-0, which we said in the pre-show would be massive for Ferox, considering the string of games coming up for them in the next few weeks, where they are probably going to be able to go in as the favorites. Taking this out against Elevate, though, would be disastrous for Elevate, because we said this really is a series they should be winning. The poll vote said that as well.
Yeah, I mean, Elevate's already dropped 2 maps so far in the 6 Masters, 1 to Sinister last week and 1 in their first week to LFO. And that's just not a trend they can let continue if they intend to keep that top spot that they came in first seed, currently dropped 2nd place so far in the ladder thanks to Wildcard coming in first. And I mean, it looks like Elevate is just going to continue to drop unless they can secure some victories.
64% of you at home voted for Elevate to win this series. Well, that can no longer happen, Dev. That's impossible now. So for the 20%,
I was one of those people.
Yeah, you were one of those people.
Yeah.
In fact, out of the snowball predictions, I said Guz and Raven were the only ones who predicted a draw. Right now, they'll be sitting pretty with how things are going, because we both probably still feel like Border should be going the way of Elevate, unless Ferox surprised us in the way that their attacking side surprised us on Consulate.
Well, what I can tell you for sure is that Elevate, after losing to Sinister in a close 6-8 last week on Border, they're going to have been practicing all week, looking at Border, saying, guys, why did we lose last week? What are we going to do to fix that? They will have nutted out some of those mistakes, and they'll also hopefully be adding new strategies to their Border lineup to ensure that they keep it fresh and make sure that people who watch that Sinister VOD can't just counter-strat them. So I do have some faith in Elevate here. They picked this map. They've got to go through with it.
Well, it's interesting because both teams picked maps that they lost last time around, but both of those games were very, very close. But right now, this series is all one-sided. Team Ferox are currently up 1-0 as we head into Border. Elevate looking to at least try and tie it up. It is their map pick. It is their time to shine.
Elevate versus Ferox. Finally, Elevate. We're on their turf. We thought Consulate would be good for them. We thought they might take it out in a 2-0. We were wrong. Let's see how the proceedings go. Operator bans. What is Ferox going to set the scene with? A Hibana ban. Going to force the Maverick and Thermite. Well, it's usually the Thermite that, if any hard breach is going to get banned on this map, usually the Thermite to try to prevent that triple wall opening on the office side. But Thatcher's going to go in combination there. Make it really difficult to clear out this defender utility. That's just super powerful on Border, especially because Border is quite a small map. So the EMP radius being quite large, really great. Mira also banned out, very common, and Border was one of the maps that really popularized Mira. So, make it a bit more difficult for the defenders to just sit in nice cheeky anchor spots. How's Ferox going to round this out? We're going to leave the Echo in, going to leave the Maestro in, going to leave the Wamai in. Maestro is gone. So Echo's in, IQ's in, Pulse is in, Valkyrie's in. All these operators that we've talked about in that electronics and the hard to see and good information gathering, some of which were banned out last map, they're all in. So that's good.
Can I just ask you, Dev, have you got your socks off?
No, actually, I don't. So they're
One of the
blown off? Is that...
Well, one of the chants for Ferox is usually get your socks off for Ferox. Right now, if you're a Ferox fan, I think it's time to get your socks off, because they've got a big opportunity to make it 2-0. I'm not joking.
Well, okay, Jake, I'll put it this way. I'm not going to do their work for them. If Ferox want my socks off, they're going to have to blow them off.
Yes, I like that. And right now, I mean, I've got to be honest, though, they probably should have blown your socks off after that Consulate game.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they did pretty impressively. But hey, I'm just gonna kind of take. I'm gonna take a few. I'm gonna just backpedal from this analogy and just get away from this whole conversation, because I don't know where it's gonna take us and start talking about the game, because that's something I know I can talk about safely. Well, it's going to go with Armory Lockers Archives. Very common bomb site. First choice. Also going to be here an extended hold into 90 with this deployable shield. Going to help contest the east stairs position. Also a rotate into CCTV.
The location of a bomb. 10 seconds
A strategy that we've seen adopted on Border is basically, it's quite a small map, and the defender, the meta on defense has kind of become hold as much of the map as possible. You don't just sit on site anymore. You try and extend into office, you extend into CCTV, into 90 hallway. So, yeah, it makes for some interesting viewing for sure.
Ferox on the defense first this time around. Of course, they opened up Consulate on attack. Now they're on defense here on Border. Just maybe getting to attack first for Ferox really was what got them going, that sort of momentum, having the game in their control. Now, though, it's Elevate sort of coming towards them. Elevate at least was able to grab a bit of that momentum back at the end of Consulate, taking the last few rounds before, of course, Ferox were able to get that match point finally. But before that, Elevate did wrestle back a little bit. Now they're going to continue to bring that wrestling momentum here into Border. 2 minutes. And it's Red already starting to push in.
Red's been a star player for Elevate past few weeks, but he had a really tough map 1. Always caught out off guard. God Legion just looking out for Usil. Sushi, unfortunately, just connects. So it's a 5 versus 3 advantage for Elevate. Dep just going to take this aggressive angle. Wants to try and equalize that man count. That just banned, so Elevate going to blow up underneath the wall to try and get rid of this Cade Electroclaw, but it can be quite tough, and there are some places that you can put the Electroclaws where it's really difficult to shoot. Does get taken out though. Deptra spotted out on the drone, and he's just going to play half wall for as long as he can.
I love the little teabag from Deptra, just a bit antsy there, waiting for the action to happen. That's the drone. When you're ready for it. Elevate have already got a couple in. Still a few to make their way.
Two ACOGs on the defense as well.
Yeah, Deptra's probably been the standout, at least for me, from Ferox so far tonight. Shade, though, does get fast. Clean. This is going to make it a bit difficult for Elevate now. Warden roaming around. He's able to spot one pushing through, but the reinforced walls makes it difficult to shoot through, obviously. Plant. The diffuser does go down. Deptra literally on 1 health.
No time to stim either. Red gets another. Peeking around, just covering 90. Not sure. Looks the wrong way, but players on both sides of him. Odd Legion.
Defender has left the area.
Now Deptra as well. He's going for a run out. Okay, you may as well just run for the hills, and that's what he's going to do. It's time to get out of Dodge. Have some fun outside, and yeah, well,
Explore the scenery.
Such is life, I suppose. I don't know what that was, but yeah, cool.
Well, it was an Elevate win for the first round here of Border. That's what it was, and pretty convincingly in the end as well. I think Ferox really just kind of just got swarmed towards the end. They were able to get like 1 frag back in the middle of all of that, but not enough to really make it competitive for that first round. And for Elevate, that's the start you really need, right? Because Ferox surprised them on Consulate with that first attacking round. It was clean, it was concise, and I think you almost kind of get something similar here from Elevate on Border. It's almost like, okay, this is still a series. Don't forget that it's not a best of 1; it's a best of 2. So, you know, they're here to play.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, getting that opening pick, it was Red onto Todd. Nice way to open things up, and then unfortunately, Sushi disconnecting. Pretty hard position to crawl back from for Ferox. 3 versus 5. Plenty of time for the attackers to work with, and well, Elevate were really thorough. They opened up below the armory wall to destroy the Electroclaw, thermited open the wall, and then just played the slow game, got the plant down. Not so much that you can do for Ferox in that position, but we will need to see them adapt to some degree. I don't know whether Todd maybe will play a little bit more passively. Maybe, I mean, I personally would like to see Ferox extend a little bit stronger into CCTV and have presence there for longer time in the round. Make it so that Elevate's not capable of getting any free ground. Don't give anything to them for free. Make them work for it.
I love the ticket down the bottom. Looks like you guys got this one wrong. Ferox proving quite a few wrong on that first map, but potentially from what we saw Elevate there in that first round, they're not too phased, right? And this is the thing. Sometimes you can lose a map and spirits could go down and maybe some heads drop, but Elevate come out strong, and they know that obviously being a best of two, all they've got to do is just win border, and they can at least split the night. Which, for their sake and their top 4 hopes, for finals. Splitting this series against Ferox isn't really that bad. We've spoken about how close Six Masters is here. That 1-7, I hate to say it, but 1-7 is extremely close.
One thing we could say as a redeeming, if Elevate do win this game, this map here, they will be tied first place with Wildcard, 15 points. But that said, Wildcard won't have played this week. So if Wildcard can hold their ground this week against, Kanga, which is pretty likely, not going to lie. Sorry, Kanga. If Wildcard can beat Kanga, they'll probably get 6 points out of that one. So even after this week, and Elevate, I'd be very surprised if they can rest in that top spot that they're really seeking. So it is a tough position to be in for Elevate, just losing that first map, and that's got to weigh on your mind. And I think in border here, you just have to try to disperse that from your brain. Stop thinking about the blunders. Consulate, yeah, it sucked, but that was in the past. Yeah, it sucks how that's going to affect you for the rest of the season, but don't think about that right now. Got to get your head into the game. It's border. You pick this map. You're up 1 round. Just keep plowing through it, and I have confidence that they can get another 3 points here.
I mean, but even though it was their map pick, it's not like Elevate is invincible on this map, and it's one of their strongest maps. Like they are actually 1 and 2 in the last 3 times that they've played border within the last few months. Like that's actually a losing record for the map that they picked. It just so happens that obviously for Ferox, their results in the past few months on border haven't been ideal either. So if you're Ferox coming into this, you should probably know, okay, yeah, they've picked border. They played it more recently than us, but they're not exactly magicians on it. The question is, how much homework has Elevate really gone and done to putting border potentially into their map pool now? Have they gone like full steam ahead, like we're going to practice border a lot and try and pick it as much as possible? Or is this just sort of like a flex pick that they maybe bring out once every few weeks?
I have a feeling that Elevate coming into this thinking Ferox probably aren't going to be practicing border. If I'm Ferox, I'm probably not guessing Elevate's going to pick border, especially because they lost it last week. So it's probably not one of the prime maps in your practicing rotation in preparation for this game. So Ferox, knowing that, they think, okay, we're really going to go hard in on border, make sure we fix up the things that we messed up last week. And also there's a potential that it's a fairly weak map for Ferox. That said, really limited information. Ferox haven't played this in over 2 months. And that makes it a bit scary for Elevate going into it, not knowing how good Ferox are on this map. But I think Ferox, especially as they have had a lot of roster changes, their map pool is likely a bit less developed, and they don't have as much experience, specifically with Todd, on this roster, fleshing out some of these maps like border. So Ferox are going to be feeling their way through this one. The Elevate should, in theory, be an advantage, but Ferox are demonstrating some confidence here that in round number 2, after losing their armory, which is a favored bomb site, they're going to flex onto one of the less favored bomb sites on this map, which is customs.
Just taking it back there a couple of seconds, you were touching on the map pool, and it's sort of which do you prefer as a team? Having maybe 2-3 really strong maps, or being able to almost play everything?
10 seconds.
And whichever one you decide is going to have its strengths and weaknesses. And for Ferox, it's a question of, have they potentially been playing a little bit of everything, or are they just, as a new roster, trying to just get everyone gelled together, maybe only focused on a few maps? This is where, now going on to something like border, we'll see how that plays out and maybe get our answer.
Toad had a really nice electrical there on the detention wall. I don't think there's a way to shoot that. Worthy gets the first pick. Man, second time Elevate's found the opening pick in a few seconds. Warden decided to go for a spawn peek that round. I think it was, Sushi or Deptro who went for it the previous round? Oh, man, once again, fighting from a man disadvantage. It's going to be tough for Ferox.
And that's where maybe now 2 rounds in a row that this has happened, Ferox going into this next round, don't try that again. But then Elevate's probably thinking, oh, now they're not going to do it anymore. So actually you should do it, right? That's the mindset Ferox probably need to have.
Oh, no. Too many double negatives, too many double bluffs. I don't know how to dance around that one. We do have a lot of pressure from these defenders inside of CCTV and break. So important to hold on to it as long as you can, because if the attackers get control of this, it's directly above the bomb site. All the floor is destructible. Really quite simple to hold on and flush out these players on the bomb site, get that map control. So Elevate are going to be pincering partly from that office side, but also from Armory here, where we see Red starting to push on in. Door is open. He might be able to peek onto Todd. Here's the 416 of Deptra leaning out. Doesn't want to commit to this peek.
Spotted him. Probably just doesn't want to push through the door.
Oh!
Yeah, oh, look at that horrible timing. Timing is everything. Although I'm not sure if Todd pushing through like that is the right play. Maybe enforced thanks to the nade that Red put down. I'm just going to open up the floor and the wall next to him. 2 down for Ferox. Big opportunity going begging for Todd. Could have really caught Red off guard. Doesn't punish him.
That said, Deptra did manage to get out of dodge. Oh, a frag grenade is going to remove the electric claw. No Thatcher, no worries, as we say in Red's world. And that's going to allow Digital to open up that detention wall. Deptra's so keen for this run out, but it's a very common one, and surely Worthy would have put down an air jab to cover this off.
Defender has left the
No
area
air
of
jab,
operation.
but he was just checking for the air jab. That's all he was doing. He doesn't want to dedicate to that run out right now. Goes to the other run out and still no air jab. This is an ambitious one. Finds one, tries to get the second, but he gets out and stays alive. I don't know how this man managed it, but he did.
But not everything is as great as it seems. Sushi, Deptra, both extremely low. To the point where one tap will just about do it. Only 15 seconds remaining though for Elevate to continue to potentially win this round. And Gold Legion and Red take care of Sushi and Deptra. The third one comes shortly afterwards from Red. In the end, Red picking up like 3 kills in that round. He could have easily died at the very beginning.
Yeah, Red's been going nuts, mate. And I got to say, he was the player I was looking at, and a player I've been looking at this whole season to really show up for Elevate. On last map, I didn't get his overall KD for the whole map, but in terms of just open engagements, he was down 0 and 3. He didn't get a single victory on those opening engagements, and he was picked off first in his team 3 times. That's just not good, especially for a support player, which Red typically plays. But I mean, he's just flexed onto entry here on this map, and it seems to be going pretty well for him. A 3K on that round, and doesn't look to be slowing down anytime soon.
And this is now going into the third round where we see have Ferox decided to stop some of these peaks. It hasn't worked out for them for 2 rounds. You just think if they had that one extra player,
Attackers need to locate
how
and
different
defuse
these
bomb.
rounds potentially could have gone. You know, the Deptra run out we saw the last round, that brings it back to 3-3. They don't lose someone at the very beginning, then a 4-3 so much more advantageous for Ferox. So we'll see whether or not they want to be cheeky and start peeking again, or if they'll stay indoors here in the third round.
As a good start, they haven't brought the Doc. So, I mean, I'm a bit of a skeptic. Doc is one of those operators, at least in ranked, he's often picked just because he's got the ACOG and people want to go for long-range engagements, people want to spawn peek, you know. And to some degree, that's why he is picked in comp for that ACOG, being able to contest those tight angles, but Ferox are deciding to go with a fairly utility-heavy lineup here. Really like a lot of information denial, with the Mute and Mozzie, a lot of information gathering, Mozzie and Valkyrie, to a lesser extent the Legion as well. A lot of Legion mines downstairs here to prevent this horizontal take into this Vents and Workshop bomb site. And that, I guess, does segue into another thing I'm quite happy with that Ferox has been doing, which is changing things up. You know, if they don't win a round, just move on to the next bomb site. And this is the 3rd attempt. 3 different bomb sites.
And sometimes changing things up does work. Other times, though, you just don't have enough practice on it that, well, it's not going to work. An Elevator in the groove right now. They haven't been changing things up because what's been working for them has well been working for them. So this can be the problem when you're sort of playing from behind a little bit, when you're not sure how do we stop these engagements from happening. The good news is, though, they haven't peaked. Therefore, they've got all 5 still up. That's an advantage here for Ferox, I guess, in some way, because they've basically been playing 4v5. Digital finds Shade, as I was saying that there was 4v5, well, 5v5, it's now 4v5. I've completely cursed them here.
Well, that's opening exchange going Elevate's way every single time. Really good ground taken here for Elevate. Not only have they got control of this top floor, minus a few players in Armory that they're just kind of leaving there and watching their rotates, especially with the Nomad. That's nice and easy to do. Red's going to find one of those players upstairs. Vast here, watching him, keen to go into bathroom. Luckily, there is that rotate hole. A drone comes in as well, going to call out the position to his hard right, and there's the peak. It is refract, though, so a nice attempt there from Sushi, but Digital's not going to let it pass. Just Todd and Deptra now against 4 players from Elevate.
Really difficult position now for Deptra and Todd. The aim of the game from there on out in this final minute is to at least have a shot, see what you can achieve. And if you can find one frag, 2v3 just seems a whole lot more doable than the 2v4 scenario, but there's so much time left on this clock. Elevate with the numbers advantage. Everything is against Ferox from here on out in this round. And, well, thrown out. Todd's also then drowned out. And from here, Deptra has very little chance.
Oh, he doesn't spot out IQ as well. There you go. Textbook from Elevate. Great stuff. Take control of the top floor. They decided not to contest the players in Armory. Just leave them be and catch them on the rotates. It works so well, especially when you can hit shots like that. And, well, the Elevate train's not stopping anytime soon. They felt that loss on Consulate. They really did. And I'm sure they're kicking themselves and thinking, look, guys, if there's any way to redeem ourselves for Consulate, I mean, that game's over. Let's do it on here, on border. Let's show them how it's done.
Very similar to Ferox's attack on Consulate in terms of this very one-sided affair. It is 3-0 in by all margins. This hasn't been close so far on border at all. Ferox haven't really got their footing at all. They haven't looked like even making it a contest at the moment. I mean, there's so much that they can still improve on. That's the good news, right? There's only one way but up in this scenario if you're Ferox. The aim here is to probably find, if you can find 2 wins maybe on their defense and then take it over to attacking side, where if they bring their console attacking prowess over to border, then you kind of back them in there.
Yeah, and the thing that Ferox was so good at on their attacks on Consulate was, particularly in the late rounds, so good at covering angles, taking ground, and just, I mean, finding picks. It sounds a bit oversimplified, but Ferox was just so good at punishing Elevate players. And particularly here on border, a map which some say is a bit more frag heavy due to it being a bit of a smaller map. There's not a lot of utility battles necessarily, just a few choke points. Really does tend to favor teams that can really just, you know, heat it up, frag out. Ferox already demonstrated that they can do that on their attack. But they need to at least rake in a few defenses here. We saw what happened to Elevate when they couldn't muster more than 1 defense on Consulate, and it spells death. Even if you have a good attacking half, it's just, oh man, you got to be better than that on the defense.
Yeah, Elevate only picked up the 1 defensive round win on Consulate, and that really came back to bite them. A lot harder to come back. Ferox, very, very crucial rounds coming up now. Win this 3-1. Build that momentum back into your favor. And it's probably by this point now where you should probably, as a team, be starting to catch on as to how Elevate are playing. And now's the time to adapt. Depth shot. Being a bit cheeky there, but not going to find anyone from Elevate.
Shade, though, is the first one to find that pick. Takes out the player downstairs, trying to Ash charge and destroy the Electric Claw. So Shade, sorry, not the Electric Claw, the Bandit batteries. So Shade was attempting to be countered by God Legion, but I guess Shade just decides, I'm just going to shoot you straight back through those holes. It works out. And not to mention, is that a pick, but it's also that wall denial attempt from Elevate thwarted, or at least delayed for now. And still, Digital not able to get rid of this wall.
Definitely delaying Elevate, making it a lot more difficult for them. Now Digital will make their way in. Shade's going to have to reposition here. Reposition he does.
Really exposed now. We see Ferox have less and less places on the bomb site to sit, especially with the other thermite charge, which was placed on the break room wall, looking down through metal in that long hallway. really punishes a lot of positions, and that may well be how Red just found that pick. Worthy now pushing on in. 4 versus 3. Worthy does miss a few crucial shots, but he knows about this player in half wall. Sees the tip of his head. Can he get that little tip?
Oh.
He does. Now a 4 versus 3. Smokes come out, but 35 seconds to delay it might not be enough.
So unfortunate for Shade. He's able to survive the first push through, but as you said, tip of the head showing. Sushi, 20 seconds left, expecting the push to come in now. Digital opens it up, able to get Sushi, wasn't expecting it from that angle, and well, in the blink of an eye, 3 go down, and 4 rounds go into the favor of Elevate.
4 for 4 there. Worthy at the end trying to just covering that Valkyrie down below with that C4. In fact, Todd spent the entire round downstairs trying to find a way to have an impact, and I guess it would have made sense to use that C4 to kill the planter, but you know, when you're at such a numbers deficit, Elevate can dedicate a player to hunting you down. And yeah, Ferox bit lost here. Got 2 more chances to make good on your defenses, but before you know it, we'll be switching over to our attack, and Ferox are really going to have some good attacks to have a chance in this game. Once again, going Armory Lockers Archives, decided that Bandit trick, while we did get a pick from Shade, maybe not worth sticking to the Bandit trick. Just go with the Kaid.
Attackers need to locate and
Not sure how
defuse bomb.
successful it'll be. Was tried in the first defense, but...
If you've just joined us though, and you're looking at this 4-0 Elevate, you're wondering, how did Ferox win this first map?
yeah.
And Ferox won that first map. At one point, there was 6-1 in their favor.
nice.
Ended up being a 7-3 win. And since then, though, Elevate have taken all the control over here to border. So Ferox dominated Consulate, but now Elevate dominating on border. And this 1-1 draw for the series is looking even more and more likely as we continue to play through border.
Coming into this series tonight, we had pretty limited information on Ferox's border. We had, what, 1 game in the last 2 months, and they've been banning it as well. So pretty safe to assume this isn't a great map for Ferox, but there was that question of maybe they got something up their sleeves. I think this performance so far, it shows maybe they haven't. Maybe this hasn't been on their priority practice rotation. They haven't been prioritizing this map, and then we'll get a chance to ask in the interviews afterwards whether this was one they're expecting, but certainly Elevate picking this map seems to be a good decision from the team.
You've always got to be ready for anything, though, and I think to the credit of Elevate, in the same way that we gave the credit for Ferox and the way that they played Consulate, this is just Elevate playing so much better here on border to how they played on Consulate. They look in control, they look like they understand everything that they're doing, all their actions. And Ferox just don't really have the answers.
It's going to come through and clear out that Electroclaw. Oh,
Ooh.
that's a C4. Nice pick from Warden. You can see, surely there's some way for Elevate to clear out this Electroclaw because they were banking on those nades from Red. God Legion might try and go downstairs and shoot it through the floor, but at the moment he's just being live droned up long. In fact, Elevate might actually be deciding to go for a full rotate with the hard breach rotating to yellow stairs here. Sorry, east stairs. Shade in a bit of an engagement with God Legion. Another C4 does miss. And Digital's going to open up this triple wall.
Well, now they've got to change their entire approach thanks to that C4. Not only are they changing their entire approach to this round, but Vast is almost dead. You breathe on him and he fall over. Digital's wounded as well. And now, for the first time here on border tonight, it does feel like Ferox are in control. Can they capitalize, though, is the other question.
There's still roamers alive as well for Ferox. Deptro was spotted out at the bottom east stairs. Might be some holes downstairs that he could use as well to impact this attack. But at the moment, he's pretty much an impactless player down here. It's up to Elevate, try and hold on. In fact, Shade's downstairs as well, and he's used his C4. But he can open up these angles through the floor to try to deny this plant. 35 seconds left. Elevate, if they want to force a plant, then it's going to be difficult. They're going to open up that wall of archives, forcing these Ferox players further and further back into the objective and downstairs. But 25 seconds to have to make a move.
God Legion onto Archives. Oh, realizing what's in the other room though is 3-4 members of Ferox. Depture got Vast. This makes it so difficult, but Digital is getting that plant down. God Legion covering, was able to get one, but couldn't get Todd as well. The plant goes down into 2v3. This is decent for Elevate, but they lose Digital as he's climbing out. Worthy in a 1v3 has to protect this diffuser. Probably just waits, goes in at the last second, does get the Kaid in shade. 2 versus 2. Both on that diffuser as well. Worthy not panicking here.
Just playing
sticks
very
it.
slowly. Todd sticking
Oh,
it.
no.
Surely there's not going to be enough time for Worthy. He can't even find the first kill.
Attempt failed. Defenders
Playing a bit too scared, I might say, and that's Ferox's first round on the map.
I mean, without acting like I understand what he's thinking in that situation, but it just seemed like as he starts to walk into the site, he maybe was expecting to have vision of the diffuser. Didn't quite have vision, and at that point, there was even a shake of the head even there as it went for the push, but I didn't mind the slow push.
Yeah, I agree. I think the rotate was a great decision as well from Elevate, completely changing after they failed to get the Electric Claw off of the armory wall. They went for an office push instead, opened up triple wall with the thermite, opened up the archives wall with the thermite. But just touching on what you were saying about how Worthy just seemed to be a bit confused maybe about where the diffuser was. I have a feeling he thought it was actually at a thermite hole on one of the main archives walls. But in fact, the plant had gone down on the other side of the bookshelf, which you can't shoot through. Perhaps that's what happens, and so Worthy felt like he could just play around Fountain and Office more comfortably, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, what I do know though is this is at least something that gives Ferox the ability to now get at least one more before we switch halves. One's probably not enough. I mean, 5-1 at the half's not ideal, but 4-2, considering how shaky they looked at the start,
seconds left before insertion.
definitely builds confidence that they still can then bring it around on their attacking side.
Left before insertion.
You know, it's funny, on Consulate we actually saw the same pattern. The attackers won the first 4 rounds, defenders finally scraped one away, but yeah, then the attackers just won the last one in the half, and I mean, we saw that even though Elevate won a few attacks when they switched over, it just wasn't enough, and they were at such a deficit after the first half, and we could see the story repeat itself here with Ferox. They really need to win this next round for a strong chance, and they're going to go back to Customs, where they've already lost so far. Mind you, we talked about this previously. Ferox have had quite a few instances where they lose a player right at the start of the round to a spawn peak, or attempted spawn peak, I should say, and then not going for that this round. So keeping that numbers advantage for as long as possible will be paramount.
Maybe just time to play a bit more defensively this round for Ferox. They've tried their tricks. Some rounds didn't quite work. Some rounds were worse than others, but Capture on the first floor, shade close to the bomb site. Everyone else, though, roaming around. Capture, that turns things, though, in their favor. They get the opening pick for what feels like the first time, actually, here on Border. Red able to trade back, though, gets the frag onto Warden. So, very short-lived advantage for Ferox.
I think Vast tried to drone himself into tellers, or I saw a drone earlier spotting out that Mozzie around tellers, but bit of a choke point that Vast had to file through, and Depture, oh, he had this bullet hole. That's nasty.
Wow,
Surely that's not how he
cheeky.
found this kill.
I think
Oh,
it
that's
is.
disgusting. Yeah, that's gross. Poor Vast. Oh, well, that's, like you were saying, only one pick, and it was, I guess, not traded, but, you know, there was a response. Warden getting taken out by Red. Who's, well, we've been saying he's had a really impactful game. In fact, the only time he's been picked first was the previous round, and that's when Ferox won it. So every round Red has been impactful, has been a victory for Elevate. Oh, and there you go. He's taken out once again, just as we say it. Could this mean the difference for Ferox?
You've hyped him up. You've talked about how great Red's been all around here on Border, and he just gets C4'd now for like the second round in a row.
Oh, I jinxed him. I'm sorry.
Oh. Before it was the entry through the doorway. Now this time from below. But oh, that's so unfortunate for Red. God Legion though, just like the first kill, there's the trade back at least onto Todd. So these advantages that Ferox continue to get are so short-lived. Now it's 3-3 again. Worthy's got to be careful of Sushi. Does tag him up to about half health. Worthy's able to get away though, but good information gained for Sushi and Ferox. 15 seconds left. I only just looked at the timer myself. I won't lie, this round has gone very quickly. Shade is able to get Digital, and the diffuser is down on the floor. Worthy gets Shade. Depture though completes the trade back onto Godledge, and Worthy can only go for the plant. It's his only play, and then probably just run out through the door if he can stick it, and does.
Defenders have located the diffuser.
And No Man Charge will help him though. Both players coming from his left side. Not sure if he has a lot of info, but doesn't matter. Nice, slow and steady for Sushi. And yeah, I guess Depture's just gonna sprint into that air jab, but we do in fact see Ferox get another round on their defense, and
By defenders.
I've got to say, looking into the second half at a 4-2 split, that's
Yeah.
definitely not a bad position to be in.
I mean, I've got to say that I feel like if this had gone on a little longer, maybe Ferox could have turned their defense side really around and picked up a few more. Those last 2 rounds, a lot more clean. They weren't throwing away a player's life, essentially, as they did for really the first 3 rounds in the first, 30 seconds or so. So they turned things around, a bit more defensive, I felt, or at least a bit more passive aggressiveness from Ferox, and it was working for them. So I do feel like a couple more rounds they could have continue to turn things around on defense. Now they go into offense though, as we switch for the half, and for Elevate, their defensive side, which the last time they were on defense in this series on Consulate obviously wasn't very good.
Yeah, but we'll see. I mean, I'm going to be looking at Ferox here mainly. I know we've talked a lot about Elevate and how they're the ones that have the pressure on, but Ferox, they have the momentum. They're back up 2 rounds in a row here. And now they're on their attack. We saw how good the attack was. They won 5 out of 6 of them on Consulate, as you mentioned. In fact, today has just been so attacker-sided so far. What,
Yeah.
7 out of the 10 rounds on the first game were attack, and now 4 out of the 6 have been attack here as well. So definitely Ferox have this opportunity. And you know what? Ying hasn't been banned. I can't remember whether you had the stats on how many bans we've had from Ying so far in 6 Masters, but finally we get to see her, and man, there's some potential here with Shade if he can make good on it. The Elevate to really struggle on this half.
22 times Ying has been banned 6 Masters so far.
22 out of how many? Do you know if that's a what percentage that is or anything? Is that most rounds?
I just have 22. I'm just
Sorry, bro.
But what I will say is that the next best is Mira at 17, so there's a bit of a gap.
Nice.
And then after that, Thatcher at 13, and Sushi opens up onto red. So Elevate, it's not start you on your defensive side, and almost a trend starting to build here on Border, where we're just seeing a player from the defense side, whether it's Ferox or Elevate, just getting picked off super early. Whether or not this was more so Ferox pushing in a bit quicker, I think it might have been, than so far Red. By the way, can I just say Red, like the last 3 rounds, has not been able to do anything. I feel sorry for him at this point.
Yeah, I mean, every single time in this series that Red has been the first pick, Ferox has won the round. And that goes for Consulate as well, so doesn't bode well for Elevate. Shade preparing this Candela, ready to just throw it in, fully cooked, so it'll blow as soon as it hits the ground. Drone comes in, that Candela goes off. Not exposed to the angles in office, or at least they weren't being held. Now that's Ferox control of security. Couple pre-fires through Fountain. Some good map control, but you need a lot more than that. I like this decision from Elevate not to fully reinforce this key wall. Does slightly funnel Ferox, makes it much less likely that they'll be able to thermite this key wall. Or Maverick it, I guess, in their case.
Could also even be a case of mind games here, Todd. Thinking, well, trying to force the funnel here, they must be watching it. There's actually not that many eyes directly on that position. Shade gets Worthy, and all of a sudden, that percentage of games where Red is the first one eliminated, I think, is going to be counted up to another one. There's Team Ferox running away with this first attacking round. And this is the question now, I guess, that has to be answered by Ferox and Elevate. Is this a matter of the attackers are just having at an advantage here on Border regardless of the teams? Or was this just simply, okay, Elevate were good on attack, but Ferox are going to be just as good now as well?
I don't know, man. I know people are always harping on about how, at the moment, Rainbow Six is a bit defender-sided. So typically, you would see defenders win more rounds, and
tonight.
especially on maps like, yeah, I mean, no, definitely not tonight. I mean, people talk about, people say Cafe is a defender-sided map, Clubhouse is a defender-sided map, but then we have these games here, and I mean, Border would be one of those maps, being small, bit more sway towards the attacker side, but still not this much, and definitely not the case on Consulate. This has been crazy, and I guess you could say with that Ying in, it could have a bit of an impact, but I don't think it's the fact that the Ying is in that is enabling the attackers to be advantaged here, because Elevate didn't bring it once and they still won 4 rounds.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. They didn't elect to use it, so it's even if Shade doesn't connect with Candelas, it's just the fact that there's the possibility that he can connect with those Candelas. So you saw him throw it in, even though there's no one in there. It gives Shade and Ferox the confidence to then follow up onto that Candela, take in the position of that room.
Yeah, that said, the security room wasn't, and that was a position that Elevate on their attacks. They always got security for free. They never had to worry about it. And Elevate on their defenses compared to Ferox, they are holding a little bit more strongly. But I think Red getting picked so early, he seems to be the player that's trying to hold in CCTV here in security. Maybe not. Maybe, okay, he's returning back to site. Never mind me. But I don't know, maybe that numbers advantage made Elevate think, okay, we can't spread our resources so thin. You see there's a lot of utility invested in here, especially to counter those Candelas. So 2 ADSs. God Legion's going to try and hold on as long as possible. This bulletproof cam, I really like this. Looking out onto that west balcony, it's going to enable players like Digital to go for aggressive peaks and support any player inside of security.
If I'm Elevate right now, though, I'm thinking we shouldn't be peeking out at all. We've got to maybe tone things back a little bit as to how Border has been playing from both sides right now, from the defensive side, and thinking, okay, we've got to make sure we don't lose anyone early. Get to about that minute mark. If we can have all 5 up, we've seen at least how the games have been playing out. We're likely to come away with the win. God Legion taking a bit of damage, along with depth shot. Those drones come for you, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is good, though. God Legion's shot in a few drones before he got out, and, well, Warden does find that first pick. In fact, it's onto the site player of Digital, who is playing a half-wall, trying to contest this west balcony. God Legion is going to try and contest that. You can see the panic in Warden's aim. He tries to get safe. The valve cam goes out, but that's taken out. Warden now on a more passive angle. And it shows how dangerous this open wall can be, especially when you've got a player like God Legion on the other side of it.
Minute 20. Ferox looking to tie the score up 4-4. God Legion holds the angle of the wall that Todd just broken down. This is something we didn't see in the last round, but this position now actually being held a bit more effectively with God Legion, expecting that we're going to see Warden and Todd funnel through thanks to that reinforced wall. Just to the left, a drone hasn't caught God Legion.
This could be huge, but no, it must have caught him because they're pre-flashing that position anyway. Checking that there's no ADSs. Potentially a nade could come out. But God Legion knows he needs to make a play here. He's got Worthy to back him up. Ash Charge goes out. Not sure what that did. The Candela goes out. But it gets shot. That's a huge play. The Ying goes in anyway. And just trying to hold for a bit longer. The Shade does find that one pick. God Legion eventually traded out as well. Shade's going huge. But it's all on Vast in a 1 versus 4.
Unfortunately for God Legion, too many positions opened up. Vast gets 1, Vast gets a second. He's now got 3 in total for the round. In 1 versus 2 with Sushi at half health as well. That plant still has to go down for Ferox as well. There's a massive opportunity from below. Vast can just shoot through the floor. Todd's going to be able to stick this diffuser down. At least buy some time. No, he's got no info. He's got no idea. Just randomly sprays. Retake is his play now for Vast.
Only 9 rounds left as well. He's going to get caught off guard. The drone calling his position. I got a bit scared there for a second.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as that plant goes down, it makes it so much harder, even though he gets a bit more time. As you said, no information. When you're playing down below that floor. You would have hoped if there's even just a slight bit of noise made, a bit of information, you stop that plank going down with, there was like, what, 2 seconds remaining, and then that's it, you win the round. 4-4 now, Ferox bringing it back now on their own attacking side. The Ying hasn't really been the factor. You spoke about it before. The Candela actually getting shot, and yet still, Ferox pushed in. It's almost like a confidence booster just having the Ying rather than how strong she actually is.
What I will say as well, though, for that particular round, more so than the previous, I think the Ying did have a bit of an impact. Shade there managed to find 2 entries, I believe it was. Pushing into Armory, he went straight into the little desk room rather than trying to expose himself to God Legion, the player at half wall, who he initially tried to flash. As you mentioned, the Valkyrie player, I think it was Vast, shot out that Candela, but it did still distract the Elevate players that they were worried about his Candelas, and that enabled Shade the opportunity to push in through the desk room and start to frag out, take that control, and give his team the numbers advantage.
10 seconds remaining.
It is surprising that Elevate didn't elect to use the Ying. Shades played it well in that last round and finished for most of the rounds. That's interesting. GQ Wall from Digital.
Elevate is going to rotate their bomb site though. Not going to opt to keep going with the top floor. Tried Armory twice, didn't work out. They're sick of the Ying. They're going to go downstairs, Vents Workshop. A bomb site you can play a lot more off-site, and we do see that. Top floor presence here, Vast and Red not playing together just yet. We also have Digital, as you mentioned, extending into Customs with Electroclaws protecting his reinforcements on the hatch above him and on detention. Deptra pushing in. This castle barricade, multiple castle barricades also prevent this push from Tellers. Or at least slow it down. Deptra can remove them if he wishes. And Vast does find that opening kill. It was the Ash of Deptra trying to push in. He got taken out nice and early.
Warden's got to be careful if he opens up too much. Might see Digital take him out. That comes down to also Ferox's ability to sort of close games out. They haven't actually had a 2-0 series win so far, Mixed Masters, yet. Only draws at best. This is their opportunity. Only a couple more rounds. Digital is injured. Frank's going to go in to finish him off from Todd. 4-4. Got to get the work done now.
I think that player on metal stairs was spotted out. With the Ying available, it does afford Ferox the opportunity to go for this bit more haphazard rush kind of execute onto B, but so many ways that this plan can be denied. So be really cautious to the hold to the floor from above. Need to ensure that there are no players from Elevate up above. Oh, but Worthy opening up that rotate exposes his position. Shades is going to hold down left click, does finish him off there. Benefits of the LMG. An attempted a refrag from Elevate, but nothing just yet.
Persistence paying off there for Shade. And the first few bullets don't hit. Just keep holding them one. You'll get them eventually. Team Ferox certainly in the driver's seat now. For the first time on border. It's a 4-3 advantage. Scores tied 4-4. But technically, I guess you could say they're leading border right now as it stands. They've got to win this round to make it 5-4 and really put that pressure onto Elevate. 20 seconds remaining though, not a lot of time, but they didn't need much time in the last round. Vast peeks the left side, he's able to get Shade, can find a second one here. Candela's ineffective, it's a triple kill now in total for the round for Vast. Can't find the last one onto Sushi. Sushi is going to go down though in the end. Elevate do clinch the round. 5-4 to their advantage.
Really strong 3v4 with 20 seconds left from Elevate. Really hinging on Vast, his position around Tellers, being able to take out not only the Ying, as you mentioned, making her Candelas fairly ineffective, but also the Sledge who attempted a refrag there. A big round from Vast, and I also want to credit the setup from Elevate using that castle with one castle barricade on the Teller's door into the bathroom hallway and another castle barricade on the double door into waiting room. It enabled Vast to play in that position without being so exposed to anyone coming from Tellers or waiting. Really afforded him a bit more security, allowed him to play that position late round. And that coupled with a nice early pick onto Deptra,
Attackers need to locate.
I think that was really part of the key for Elevate winning that round. And now they will go for the third time back up to Armory. I mean, they have just edged out a 5-4 advantage, but it's definitely not the job done yet because they haven't won this bomb site yet.
Well, that was only their first time winning on the defensive side so far. 2-1 at the moment from Ferox's attacking point of view. So Elevate, of course, went 4-2 from their attacking side. So Ferox can afford to drop one more. I don't know if they want to be put into a 6-4 situation, though. That last round super important in terms of being able to sort of get the match point off the match point, in essence.
I know what you mean. The match point of match point. I used to, when we had draws, I would call it break point or breakaway point because it's when you like guarantee that you'll at least get a draw. But because we have overtime, it's a bit different because even if you get to 6, you can still lose the map.
Yep.
Look at how Elevate has just absolutely cheesed this wall, mincing it up, the Armory wall, making it really hard to Maverick. It's going to make it much more difficult for a Maverick torch to try and do a line at the top and the bottom. Nice little strategy from Elevate. And you can see they've completely changed their mentality here. Instead of opening up that wall to cover and contest the west balcony, they've just gone for the full reinforcement, put a Cade Electroclaw on there and mince up the wall a little bit so it's a bit difficult for the Maverick. Really good use of reinforcements here from Elevate. Also on the triple wall on Office. Not contesting inside of CCTV either. Really going to force Ferox to either funnel through choke points or be pretty good on their utility game at opening avenues onto the bomb site.
And that's where Ferox have been decent so far on their attack, is being able to open up different avenues rather than being forced into the choke points that Elevate sort of create for themselves and create for Ferox to push through. But it does take up a lot of time to create those pathways for Ferox. That's why we've been seeing these very slow pushes in. Minute and a half remaining as they continue to make their way towards the bomb site.
Nice work from Detra there, looking down the angle from break into metal. A concussion to check there's no ADS, and then destroying the shield. Oh, and you can see this is the minced cheese. Oh, okay, good on Warden. He managed to get the wall open despite the little annoying holes in the wall. I don't know what you want to call. Good drone setup as well, covering that 90. The holy cheese. Also, the flank downstairs spotted out. Deptra, I think he misses his own concussion, accidentally hits himself. Warden's taking a lot of damage now. Vast does find that opening pick very late in the round, but it's something. Shade goes down, and that's the Ying. The thing that we talked about can help them get through these choke points. Vast for another. Oh, and it's all going for Elevate right now. Just a 2 versus 5 for Ferox with 30 seconds left.
Attackers recovered the diffuser.
A 1v5 for Deptra. Makes it a 1v4 by taking out Red, but a lot of work still to be done. And Ferox just capitulating a little bit here in the last round or so.
15 seconds left.
Deptra does get God Legion. Time is off the essence though. Pushes onto the site.
Seconds to go.
It's a bit confused as to where
Elevate,
everyone
man.
is. So they're just gonna, yeah. Well, there you go.
Oh, poor Deptra there. He was getting shot at, he was getting C4'd, and he was getting yokai drones. Not much he can do there. Yeah, that was, I mean, you could almost call that a flawless round, right? Because it was a 5 versus 1, and then they kind of just fed Deptra. So, that's, I mean, it demonstrates that Elevate really can adapt when they need to, because that's exactly what they did. They'd already tried Armory twice. They tried an extended hold into CCTV. They tried to contest the west balcony. Didn't work out so well. This time around, they went for a turtle strat. Lots of reinforcements and just sit pretty, hold tight. It worked out. Ferox stalled at the choke points, and that's when Elevate ran away with a few kills.
Well, will they run away now with the map and tie the series 1-1? Or can Ferox find a way
Defenders, protect your bombs.
send this one to overtime here on border? They're going with the Ying once again, of course, with Shade. I sense there's a real reason to change up the lineup. I mean, they won the first 2 rounds on attack. They know what they need to do here. Elevate, I think, in a way, the same way that Ferox, those last 2 rounds on their defense, just sort of figuring things out as they go along.
We've talked about pressure tonight. Talked about how there's pressure on Elevate, especially after that first map.
Discovered the location of a bomb.
With
5
match
seconds
point
insertion.
on the table and this map victory within reach,
Attackers
I feel like that
objective
pressure is just
bomb.
mounting. Elevate have shown that they know how to they have the mental fortitude to just hang on, not let their mentality get the better of them. And so I'm looking at Ferox here.
Defender has left the
Steal
area
away a
of
few more attacks. We know how good they are on these attacks. We know that they can make this work. They've already run this bomb site once. Can they win it again?
And there's that incentive as well there, right in front of them for Ferox to pick up their first series win. It was tied 4-4. Okay, they lose 2 rounds, but they've at least shown on border they can win 2 rounds on attack. They've already done it. Got to do it again, though. They've got to find another 2 wins in their back pocket to send it to overtime. I think definitely it's never fun losing a player early, but that's been the difference maker here on border for both teams. There hasn't really been a whole lot of lose someone early on border. It's proving to be difficult to then counter that numbers disadvantage.
Still, this wall hasn't been opened up properly from Warden. And Red decides to take advantage of the situation. His position spotted out though, so he's going to play a bit more passive. 2 drones though he takes out. That's a lot of info gathering denied. He's shot at from multiple angles here. Now Warden's going to finish off opening up the wall, or at least try his best to. It's a bit tough. 1.5 minutes left. Finally, the wall unreinforced. Todd going to open that up with the sledgehammer. Good top floor control as well for Ferox. My question is, where is Shade? He's the man with the candelas in hand. He's the man we've been looking to for these opening engagements. At the moment, on flank watch, in armory, but no doubt he'll rotate, start going for this push before too long.
Oh, they lose Detra though. They all can't just funnel through the wall that Warden has created. If they all just funnel through here, I don't sense it's going to work out well for them, but they're running out of time. They're running out of options. Sushi, very low, has that diffuser. You do not want him to die up there without the diffuser with 40 seconds remaining. Shade, time to use these Candelas and start to push in. Try and find a pick or 2 as he pushes onto site here in the supply room. Doesn't find anything. Red is invincible apparently behind that counter. She got at least red, but that was all you're going to get. And the series will go to 1-1. Elevate taking border 7-4.
Maybe a bit close for comfort in this series, but Elevate do lock it out there. Got a bit close there. I think there was a last-minute dock stim pistol from Worthy as well to keep Red in the game just a bit longer. Great stuff, and particular from Vast there. Well-earned MVP. Really nice couple rounds there. A lot of hugely impactful frags, and Red, after a tough map 1, ends up map 2 with a nearly 2.0 KD, 11 and 6. After a pretty embarrassing 7-3 loss on the first map, Elevator got to be pretty happy to close out their own map pick 7-4.
Yeah, and I think 7-4 is probably about right. You know, we saw both teams pick up a few rounds on defense, but the attacking side was where we saw a lot of the damage done, obviously, for Elevate. Ferox came out of the blocks, though, did they not, on their attacking side, winning the first 2 rounds. They made it 4-4, and just for a moment, it looked like they might be able to go on and get their first series win. And you said at the very beginning of this pre-show that if Ferox wins this 2-0, you wouldn't be that surprised. But I think there would have been a lot of people surprised if Ferox had won this 2-0. In the end, 1-1. Guz and Raven are correct. Everyone else is wrong, apparently. I'm not too surprised
as well. No, I mean, I was surprised at the first map. Not blown away, not blown my socks off kind of surprised. But, you know, Ferox came in really strong map number 1. Their attacks were so good. They got close to replicating that on map 2, as you mentioned. 2 really strong attacks to start off their attacking half. But Elevate, fortunately for them, especially because of all the pressure that they've been under, they just regained their composure, made a few adaptations to fix up their top 4 defense, also managed to pull away events defense and a customs defense as well, locking it out. But one thing to note, with that 7-4 victory on Border for Elevate and a 7-3 victory for Ferox on Consulate, Ferox actually still hold the head-to-head win because they have won more rounds. Their round differential in a head-to-head is better. So Ferox got to be super proud of what they've accomplished tonight.
We do have our first interview of the night, Digital from Elevate, and very interested to see how Elevate think they went in this round. Dev, I'm excited to hear how Digital's thoughts are. Digital, you there with us?
Hey boys, how are we?
Doing good. How are you feeling after that round series against Ferox?
Mixed feelings really. Like we just the draws are just killing us. Like we definitely should have got the 2-0 there. I think we were more than capable of doing so, but we were just like asleep on the first map, and yeah, we just like we've only got ourselves to fault really.
I want to dig into Consulate a little bit. Was it something you weren't expecting? Because you guys have actually had pretty good results on Consulate recently. Ferox came out with some maybe a bit unpredictable things, banning out the Valkyrie and the IQ. You guys ended up banning the Pulse. Is there any insight that from the map, from the operator veto, that maybe kind of could explain why you guys really struggled, especially on your defenses there?
Again, it wasn't like we knew they like Consulate. They did really well against Wildcard, and we have a feeling that they might pick it. So, just at the defense rounds, the rounds where they played, passive and doing their short clears on console, we just fed them kills. And then when they didn't do short clears and they played, and we wanted to play more aggressive, that's when they played passive. It was just like, we've really got ourselves to fault. We didn't read into what they want to do. It's just like. Even our prep was fun. Yeah, just like in game day stuff, we're just asleep really.
Digital, before I let you go, just on the Border pick, you guys lost it last week to Sinister. Did you go back and sort of watch that VOD and do a bit more homework on it and think we can really add this to our map pool?
We've always like sort of rated our Border, and we knew that Ferox isn't like really good at it. It's like not one of their really good maps. So yeah, like last week again, we just like made like minor errors. We choked that lead, and we weren't going to choke it today, no way. So yeah, we just like made sure we closed it out. We composed ourselves, and thankfully got the 7-4 dub.
Alrighty, thank you very much, Digital. Best of luck for next week.
No worries. Cheers, boys.
Yep.
Next week should be a good one for Elevate too. They're playing Knights, so tough games ahead for Elevate, and I liked what Digital said. They're sick of draws. They're just so sick of draws.
I mean, I think Ferox would probably say the same thing as well, right? They even when they haven't picked up a 2-0 at all yet. So who more so to be sick of draws than Ferox potentially?
Yeah, and that's the third draw for both of these teams, in fact. So if I'm Elevate, I mean, it was some good insight from Digital. It wasn't anything to do with their prep that really faltered them on Consulate. And I like that Digital is very modest. He's saying it wasn't that they did something that necessarily surprised us. It was that they fell asleep on game day. So I think Elevate's really going to be looking into what they can do to make sure that they can translate success from practice into these game days, because dropping the ball like this and losing these maps, it's what's going to slip them further and further away from that top spot that they're going after.
I mean, and I think you've also got to say it's a bit of both, right? Whether it's a little bit of Elevate just slipping, maybe coming into Consulate, not quite at 100%, but also then Ferox maybe coming into it, roaring, full of momentum and feeling confident going into the map pick that they chose. And then I think Elevate just sort of correcting themselves a bit on Border, right? And just sort of getting back to the Elevate that they know how they can play. Yeah,
for sure. For Elevate, I don't know really what else to say. These guys have been in the over 2020 so far looking really good, but just a few hiccups, and Ferox have shown that they're not to be trifled with on the contrast.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've of course got our second interview here from Ferox with Sushi.
G'day, guys.
Just say, big g'day, Sushi. And my first question that I want to ask here is that very attacking sided rounds tonight. Did you sense going into these two maps that it was going to be so attacking favored for maybe both teams?
For Consulate, no. Definitely didn't expect like that strong of an attack for us, honestly. We would have been happy with like a 3-3 on Consulate for us, and then win out on the defenses. Border's always just like, it's a frustrating map. It's attackers sided is like to be expected on Border, but probably definitely not Consulate. No.
So what happened on Consulate that really allowed you guys to run away? You were 5-1 on attack. I know you guys were surprised yourselves. What happened there? And I also do want to ask, what was with your operator bans there, IQ and Valkyrie? Pretty unusual bans. So, what happened, mate?
Okay, first of all, the bans. It seems like stupid bans, but for Elevate, we really wanted to do those bans for our own personal reasons. I won't say why, just in case, right? But like... We did do a VOD review earlier today, and we were like, this could actually really hurt them on the attack. Look, we just decided, let's just try and throw them off without bans. But then on like Consulate, we were just... we're a team that really kind of gets behind momentum, but doesn't get upset if we like a 6-3 down or anything. So I feel like the rounds we were winning and the way we were winning, we got so much confidence, so we were just like peaking everything and winning our like ones. So really our attacks were just down to like, we played really well today on Consulate, and they just weren't able to like compete with us on a 1v1 level. Yeah.
Sushi, with Border, were you surprised at all by the pick from Elevate? And not only that, but have you guys played much Border, maybe in scrims recently? How prepared were you guys for this?
Look, with the new ban system, it's really hard to predict what map you're going to be playing. And with scrims, some scrims you play 3 maps, 4 maps. It's hard to really prep every map. We didn't really expect Border that much, seeing as like they lost to Sinister on it. So we were kind of we were hoping they didn't do it. We still like had some stuff for it. We were prepping it, but it threw us off a little. But the way our team works, we were confident we could still win it, but we just pretty much threw, in our own opinion, we could have still won Border no matter what. So, yeah.
You gotta love that confidence, though. Thank you very much, Sushi. Best of luck next week against LFO.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, in the end, both feeling like they could have done better, I guess, Dev, which, I mean, not too surprising. Ferox probably feel and walk away from this series thinking, hey, we really could have got 2-0 here. And Elevate probably thinking, we really let the ball slip. We should have walked away from this 2-0.
And for Ferox in particular, it was interesting to hear Sushi say that the linchpin of their victory on Consulate was, well, partially their attacks, right? Running away with 5 attacks really helped them, especially when they were only expecting to win 3 at best. But it just came down to 1v1s. They just had so much confidence. First couple rounds start rolling on through, and Ferox are like, oh, I'm just shooting these guys. I'm wide swinging them, and we're winning our 1v1s. It just spiraled. And the more that they did it, the more it worked. And from Digital's perspective, he was saying, well, they kept getting control. They kept getting free picks. So it does line up there, and it makes me wonder, what does this say about Elevate in future weeks as well? Is this something that they're capable of addressing, because they've got a lot of tough matches coming up in the season?
Certainly so. And of course, we've got one more match to play tonight, LFO and Knight. It's going to be on the other side of this break.
very important to us. All operators are busy at this time.